Hello ladies and gentlemen, Forrest Wolfer here. Welcome back to another video. Earlier today I did do a chill stream, which was basically part chill stream, part serious stream, and like about an hour of watching Reddit story videos. So that's what this live stream is all about. We're going to be watching Reddit story videos, and also, hey Mashunzo, how you doing tonight? Also, I do want to say that before each video, because I don't know what each one's going to contain, I should give a little bit of a warning that these videos may or may not contain 18 plus scenarios. So be prepared. But anyway, so yeah, I did enjoy the earlier stream that I did today. Hold on, let me fix my camera real quick. Yeah, so I did enjoy uh, doing the stream, that show stream from earlier today. I talked about a few things and I had a lot of fun. I should probably make it to where I can see the live chat here, so that way, I can see everybody that comes in, hopefully, because sometimes YouTube can be problematic and not want to show me everything. And it has happened before. I hope you have a great night. Hey, you too, Mashonzo. So we're gonna get things started. I started out with a nuclear revenge, so I want to start with a. Am I the butthole? It's r/AITA, which is am I the asshole? But YouTube's like, well, you gotta say butthole, and it's like,
Would you
okay,
be the jerk
fine.
for telling?
All right, so these videos are in some ways very long, but also in some ways very short. So, long story short, how we're doing this is where I'm gonna give my 2 cents on the story. Like, I'll give it a chance. I'll give the story a listen, and then afterward give my 2 cents. And if anybody else wants to give their 2 cents on these stories, that's cool too. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right straight into it. This is actually from 10 hours ago. The one that I was watching earlier was from 14 hours ago. This one's from 10 hours ago, involving the Am I the Asshole subreddit. So let's take a listen to these stories.
Would you be the jerk for telling your nieces and nephews that they're not allowed to mess with the toys and books in your own living room? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for giving my daughter a better present than my son? Our son is 22 and our daughter is
Hmm.
26. She bought a house in July. We know that moving into a new home always comes with unexpected costs, right after you've probably depleted most of your funds. So for Christmas, we gave her $4,000. Our son, we gave a few different gifts totaling somewhere around $800. Our daughter had to work Christmas, but we did Christmas on the 26th, and she stayed with us for the holidays from then till yesterday. Our son still lives with us, and today he told us both that he didn't want to say anything while his sister was there, but his feelings were hurt by the disparity in the value of the gifts. We explained that the gifts we got him were tailored to his interests, but
Right.
his sister's just passed a big life milestone where money's more important to her right now than sentiment. He said it's still hurtful because it feels like we're more proud of her than him. My wife got really frustrated when he said that and asked why he would choose the least charitable interpretation of our actions. He said that's just how he felt and he couldn't control it. I said that we didn't give her money because we're more proud, but because we had experience being new homeowners. And knowing that something always breaks in that first 6 months and it's always expensive, he said that was all fine and good, but it still hurt to get a worse present and feel like an afterthought. My wife asked if he expected us to get him $4,000 worth of gifts. He said no, but he expected the gifts between him and his sister to be equal. My wife said that's the same thing, and my son said it isn't. He said we could have given her the monetary equivalent of what we gave him. I told him that it isn't really fair for him to decide how much we spend on someone else's gift. Furthermore, cash is less personal than gifts, so giving her a cash equivalent to what he got would be her getting the worst gift. He said we weren't listening to him, just justifying. My wife said we didn't need.
Hold on. I'm hearing my dogs in the background. I'll be right back. Hold on a second. I can hear them in the background barking. Let me see what's going on. I'll be right back. turned out that was nobody, because my dogs just start barking sometimes. I even looked outside, I even opened the door and I didn't see any vehicles or anything outside, so I don't know what they were talking about, but let's go ahead and say this.
To fight anything, and he was being entitled. At that point, he said he didn't want to talk unless everyone was civil and he went to his room. He skipped lunch, breakfast for him, today, and when he left for work, he didn't say goodbye, even though I was right by the door. My wife is irritated, and my son is clearly resenting us. I can't really decide if we're in the wrong here. On the one hand, we should be able to give our money to whoever we want. On the other, I never want to hurt my son's feelings. Were we wrong? I don't think they were wrong.
Okay, so the big question is, were you wrong? No, honestly, truthfully, let's give the honest answer here. No, you're not. You gave him a certain amount of money. Here's the problem. He is thinking like, well, because, well, like, he kind of contradicted himself at one point. Really, he said at one point he literally contradicted himself on the same point when they asked him, well, did you did you expect us to buy you things that would equal to $4,000? No, but I figured, you give us things that would be of equal value. That's pretty much him just literally contradicting himself by saying that. Because, literally, he just contradicted himself instantly. You can't say in 1 second, well, no, I didn't expect you to do that, but I expected it to be in the same equal amount. He kind of contradicted himself. But here's the thing. What some people fail to understand is that there's more to life than buying things of monetary value. The point is, they bought you things that they thought you would like. If your main focal point is, well, I'll only like it if all these things are of equal value to what you guys got this person, yeah. Yeah, no, that's not how this works. The whole point of, buying this for your buying, people in the family something is simply put, um, the whole point is to buy things for people that you feel like would be the most important, what would help them out the most, or give them something that they've been wanting for a while, and well, here you go, right? But here this guy is complaining that he's getting $800 worth of things while his sister is getting $4,000 money because of what they what they experienced. And so they're giving her more money because, they felt like $4,000 could help out a lot in a long way. But meanwhile, they're giving, I think it was $800. Yeah, it was like $800 worth of stuff to the other person. But that other person is saying, well, why didn't you spend the equal amount of money on me? Well, did you expect us to do that? No. What the hell was that? I better not be dealing with some motherfucking ghosts in this house. Seriously. I'm gonna go lock my door just in case. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. It's not even October, and that was very creepy, honestly. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, people who act like, well, you have to spend equal amount of money for me to be happy. They are in their own way entitled, because dude, the most important aspect is to be happy with what you've been given. It's not a matter of, well, you got this, but I didn't, so what the heck? That kind of reminds me of the time when my sister and I got a Nintendo, me and my sister and I both got one Nintendo DS game. She got Nintendogs and I got Pokemon Diamond when the original Generation 4 games came out. Guess which one of us got the DS? Either way, we both had to share it. And ironic, the funny thing is, she got the Nintendo DS. I got a Game Boy Advance SP with some Game Boy Advance games too in them, So that was fun. I still enjoy my Game Boy Advance SP, and I actually still have it now. And I just bought earlier today the I just took my finger. Um, and I just bought a charging cable for it. It's a USB charging cable that would work with it. I bought it because I honestly would like to play it again. Now I just need to buy some Game Boy Advance games for it. Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. Namely Pokemon, because I love the Pokemon games. Always have, and probably always will. Depending on the type of game we're dealing with here, right? But yeah, so this person, not the asshole. The other person involved in the story, the son or whatever, the person that's going off on, well, you spent this amount of money on them and not me, and I kind of got hurt by that you didn't do this, do it in this particular way. Um, that person is slightly the asshole because in many ways that could be seen, because in a way it could be seen as entitlement. Because, like I said before, it's not about the amount of money that you spend. It's about the person enjoying what they've gotten. And if they're not going to enjoy it because the amount of money that was spent on them was not the equal amount of money that was spent on the other person, and they flip out about it, that is, in its own way, entitlement. So then I heard my phone ring, but I don't hear anything.
I think they chose
But yeah, I think they did the right things here, though. Right,
up
story
below. Our next story is, am I the jerk for kicking my friend's boyfriend out of my house after my friends planned a New Year's gathering that I can't attend? Alright, so maybe I'm overreacting, but honestly I've kind of reached a breaking point. I, male 21, am disabled, full-time wheelchair user, and live in a fairly small college town with a couple friends. My roommates and I are part of a larger friend group of 8 people, and I'd say we're all pretty close. I love my roommates. They're great, but sometimes a little thick. There's one person in the large friend group, let's call him Chris, who's dating a guy, let's call him James. I really don't like James for many reasons, mostly petty ones to be honest. But another fact, James is vegetarian. That's not a problem in itself, but herein comes the issue. All of us planned on getting dinner on New Year's Eve. Smallish college town, there's 3 main restaurants to choose from that are open in the nearby area. One of them is a steakhouse, one of them is a Thai place, one of them is a sort of hippie plant-based place. James immediately suggests the plant-based one. I give a veto as it's completely inaccessible, and give the alternative of ordering takeout from there and bringing it back to my place. But we recently started fostering a cat, and one of our...
I had to reset that because I kept hearing noises from my doggos, so I'm resetting it here.
One of them is a Thai place, one of them is a sort of hippie plant-based place. James immediately suggests the plant-based one. I give a veto as it's completely inaccessible, and give the alternative of ordering takeout from there and bringing it back to my place. But we recently started fostering a cat, and one of our other friends is allergic to cats, so that's also a no-go. None of the other friends are able to host a gathering for various reasons, so I suggest we go to the Thai place. It's a nice spot and reasonably accessible, but apparently James and Chris went to the Thai place last week for their anniversary and don't want to go back. I then suggest the steakhouse, but of course that is loudly shut down because James is a vegetarian. Long story short, the group did a vote between the hippie place and the Thai place, not even including the steakhouse, and the plant-based place won. I admitted that I was slightly frustrated to my roommates, who said that they can bring back food after. I said that wasn't the issue, but sure. So New Year's Eve comes and they get back from dinner, and James and Chris also stop by. At this point it's late and I'm a couple drinks in, and I flat out tell James that I think it's crappy that he suggested and then subsequently campaigned for a place that he knows I can't go to. He said that it's fair because I suggested the steakhouse knowing he's a vegetarian. I told him that it's different because he could have at the very least physically been present. He insisted that it's the same, and I asked him to leave the apartment because I was tired of dealing with his BS. So he left, and my roommates think I overreacted. Maybe I did. What do y'all think?
Well, let me just say for the record that how the voting came down to it is kind of what started the whole ordeal. I'm gonna be honest with you, the way that voting about where to go kind of started it all. But here's the thing. I feel like in one way, honestly, it was kind of a losing situation here because you had two places that that at least one person vehemently said, no, we can't go because I'm not into this sort of, I don't eat this sort of thing. OP said no to the plant-based restaurant because they're not a vegan, and they all vehemently shut down on the steakhouse because one of them is a vegetarian. So really, it should have boiled down to the Thai place because it would literally be the best of both. Like, yeah, I understand that one of the group already went there with their significant other. I get that, but when you have two options that involve things that one person just doesn't want to have for one reason or another, like one doesn't want the plant-based one, the plant-based place couldn't speak because they're more of a carnivore than a herbivore. Meanwhile, they don't go to the steakhouse place because one is a carnivore, because one of them is an herbivore, not a carnivore. So yeah, it was kind of really bad from the beginning of it all when it came to the voting. That's what started everything to a T. Now, that being said, it isn't really I don't think it's very much different. Now, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure if the roles were reversed, like, if they went to the other restaurant, the roles would definitely have been reversed. So again, it was really a losing battle. So I wouldn't really call anybody an asshole here. More like just uh, people just getting a bit upset for one reason or another. I don't really think too many people are the asshole here. I just feel like if it wasn't for the voting, debacle that they had, like if it wasn't for the voting debacle that they had, the whole debacle of where to go, if that wouldn't have happened, then maybe the situation wouldn't have happened. So I'm really just gonna say nobody's really the asshole because it could have. I'm pretty sure would have gone either way on the plant-based and the steakhouse-based restaurants if that option was voted upon. But yeah, I wouldn't really call anybody an asshole here. I just feel like if it wasn't for this one little thing, none of that would have happened. That's my take on it. Story 3.
Something. This next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting my sister to attend my wedding and telling my mom to think about me instead of her? I, 30-year-old female, have a younger sister, Liz, 26-year-old female. Liz had a very promising future. She was an Ivy student, always first in the class, beautiful and charming. A few years ago, Liz suffered a traumatic brain injury in a car accident.
Oh.
She doesn't get a lot of social cues, is slow to respond, and sometimes throws tantrums like a moody teen. I love my sister, but the easiest way to explain it is she can act like a child. I'm getting married to my fiance John, 33-year-old male, in August. I think almost every girl dreams of her wedding, and I'm no different. I'll put it bluntly, I don't want Liz to attend the wedding. Mom would be hovering over her, and she might create a scene during the ceremony or reception. The wedding's at a hotel, so I suggested we book a room for Liz so she's nearby, and if needed, Mom can go check in on her. And I say this because Liz can stay alone and has stayed alone in the past, so that's not an issue. And she's occupied with a movie or something. Mom said I should be including Liz, at least for the ceremony. I tried to explain to her that I just want my perfect day, but she didn't want to hear it. So I said maybe she should think of me for a minute instead of Liz. Mom got mad and is now refusing to talk to me, and Dad thinks I should apologize. A lot of my friends think I'm correct here, but John said I should be more understanding and this will hurt Liz. Am I the jerk? Our next door...
Okay, in some ways, yes. Now, here's why, okay? It's not about, like, of course there's your wedding and you can choose who can go and who can't go. But how you went about talking about that, like how you went about it with your mother, about your sister, like how the OP went about it with her mother about her sister, was in ways it was disrespectful toward her sister. I get that her sister may have an outburst. Like you hear from the beginning that she has this injury that may cause these random outbursts. But here's the thing: if people understand that she's gonna have these outbursts, then there's nothing to worry about. As long as people are given fair notice that, yeah, just so you know, she may lash out randomly, and it's because she has this problem going on with her. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of people that will understand, what's going on with that. So, really, I would say how you went about it. Like, I think it's like, you voiced your concerns, but you also went about it at the very tail end of it in the wrong way. And so, I think in some ways the anger is a bit justified, like, toward you, but at the same time, your what's the word I'm looking for here? Your concerns would be noted, but just don't go about it in a way that may seem like you're being a bit disrespectful, and you'll be good to go. But yeah, if anything, you could just tell people, yeah, my sister suffers from this, so don't feel too worried about. Don't be worried about it too much if she reacts randomly she randomly lashes out.
Am I the jerk for selling my father's house, even though his widow lives there? My 33-year-old female father died recently. He'd been married to his widow Penny for about 7 years before. I wasn't close with my father. We spoke regularly and enjoyed each other's company, but I can't say either of us knew each other well for many years before his death. When he died, I was surprised to learn that he had left his entire estate to me. He put everything in a trust a year before his death, and I'm the sole beneficiary. Besides a small sum that he left to Penny, the lawyer said he was advised not to leave her nothing in case she tried to contest it. Everything, including his house, is now mine. My father's lawyers and mine have advised that the will is structured such that it would be near impossible and very expensive to challenge. I don't want my father's money. I don't need it. And given our relationship, I don't feel right using it. However, he obviously wanted me to have it, So I intended to transfer everything over to my daughter, make her the beneficiary of the trust, and she'll have that in addition to her own trust fund when she's of age. However, I don't want to keep my father's house. I don't live in the same country as my father, and I don't want to deal with the admin of his possessions. I want the legal business done, and to close the book on a very painful chapter, and grieve quietly. The trouble is, Penny lives in the house. Penny doesn't work and was financially dependent on my father, so while the lawyers say she could fight to stay living in the house, she likely can't afford legal counsel. Also, because of her lack of income, she would never be able to maintain the house, which is quite large. So I would then have to keep up the house and grounds while she lived there, which I'm not willing to do. Because of both of the cost and because of the continued involvement with my father's life, which I don't want. I've notified her via the lawyers of the intention to sell the house, which has led to vicious and vitriolic messages from her kids calling me evil and heartless. I understand this is inconvenient for them, but I'm not responsible for what my father decided to do, nor am I responsible for the people or the mess he left behind. I'm not doing this to get one over on Penny. I'm just trying to be done with a traumatic part of my life. Am I the jerk? I feel terrible and OP.
So this is a messed up situation on all accounts. Because this is involving the death of a family member. Regardless of how the OP and the family member were as far as the relationship between the two of them goes, either way, it's a messed up situation involving the death of a family member. And the fact that the father put this in a put OP where she basically gets just about everything that the father gave away. It put her in a position where her sister is feeling like, well, you're trying to do this against me. But the thing is, if OP is having different motivations behind they're, why they're giving the money to their daughter. Well, you know what I mean, as well as selling the house. She wants to, she wants to get away from everything and grieve, uh, uh, and just grieve his loss, the loss of this family member. But yet, the sister is, um, the sister is acting in a way where she thinks, well, since he gave everything to you, you're trying to kick me out of the house. You're trying to show off that you own the house, right? But she's actually trying to get rid of the house because and she understands that her sister won't be able to keep it up, no matter because of lack of monetization to of any kind to work with. So that's the issue here. Yeah, that's the whole issue here. Yeah, so yeah, I don't think OP is really the asshole. I understand that I understand that it could be leaving her sister in a position where she could be potentially homeless. But at the same time, like maybe come with a compromise with your sister, maybe. But at the same time, who's to say she's going to agree with that compromise? And even if she does agree, what's to say that she's going to continue to own up to the compromise? Because that's the one thing I know about. That's one thing I've noticed about some people. Some people feel the need to. They say, "Oh, well, it's compromise," but then they don't own up to the compromisation. I've seen that happen in. I've heard of it happening in personal lives of other people. I've seen it happen on TV. But at the end of the day, if anything, maybe make a compromise with your sister or something. Like maybe help her get a new place, but make it known that you're not gonna spend more than this amount of money, so that way you can sell the house. Or hell, just sell the house, give her the money, and so she can find a house for herself if you can. You know, but she's looking at this house that she grew up in. I get that. She's grown up in this house. She lived off of this house, and now that the parent is dead, she doesn't want to leave the house. But the person that was given ownership of the house wants to get rid of it. So this would be something that you would just have to talk to about her, like just talk about her, talk to her, just say, well, these are my these are my thoughts and opinions, and have her say hers, and see if you can come up with a compromise about it, because otherwise it's not going to end well for anybody if you don't. Next story.
This next story is, am I the jerk for moving in with my dad after he and my mother separated? I'm 18-year-old female. I've got a sibling who's a few months old now. My parents, 37-year-old female and 42-year-old male, separated 9 months ago for 2 months, then got back together and permanently separated 3 months ago. My parents were each other's first relationship, something I've overheard my dad complaining about. A while ago, we went through a tough period. My mother got pregnant and 5 months in miscarried. A month later, it turned out that my dad had been having an affair. My parents tried to work it out, found out the affair partner was pregnant, and that was the end of it. When they separated, my dad wanted to make it work. So when my mother said she was moving into grandma's, 7 hours away, Dad asked if I'd live with him, thinking it would bring Mom home. Mom begged me to go with her. I didn't believe it was best because A, school and friends, and I did believe my parents could work through it. They didn't. Dad's new girlfriend and baby moved in. The new girlfriend's pretty cool, actually. So I guess Mom found out because she texted me, "It breaks my heart you've picked sides. You could have visited me or even texted, but you haven't. I love you, but you've behaved selfishly." I texted back asking if she expected me to move away from friends, family, and school. My dad didn't cheat on me, and they could have moved past it because it was only because they were going through a hard time. No response. I think I've been blocked. I didn't text because I haven't been able to pay my phone bill. Am I the jerk? I don't think I am. I think I'm really missing the point of which is, it seems like OP hasn't been reaching out at all. Our next story.
So, so it's another messed up situation we have here. That which has the OP's parents divorcing, and the mom. This is something I'm seeing here. So she chooses the dad, who the dad messed up. Yeah, he completely messed up on this. Say he completely messed up by cheating on her. I will say that right here, right now. But you gotta understand, this was OP's decision to choose who to stay with, as well as choosing who to visit. Whether she wants to stay with the dad, or if she wants to, and or if she, who she wanted to stay with, and if she wanted to visit the other parent at some point, shape, or form. So I will say with the mother, I will say that she, she's kind of putting her daughter in a position where she's trying to make her daughter feel bad by quote unquote picking sides. But is OP really picking sides? Like, just because they picked somebody, to live with, and they're not visiting the other person, you gotta put so many things into consideration. Like, why are you not visiting the other mother? Like, what's the point? Like, what's the reason there? If she has a good reason, there you go. If it sounds like an excuse, then something must have gone wrong between OP and the mother. So I would say, really, it's another messed up situation. I'm not really going to call anybody an asshole. It's just a messed up situation between all parties involved. But I do hope that everybody can, move past it. Hopefully, if not, whatever happens, happens.
Am I the jerk for borrowing my husband's underwear? So I, 28-year-old female, am about 7 to 8 months pregnant, and while I've thankfully not gained a lot of weight, my belly has grown a lot. And I find that most of my underwear is too small and cuts into my sides or the bottom of my belly. After a while, I started getting a rash in the places where it was too tight due to friction, I guess. So one day, I was getting dressed and I was getting frustrated about the rash and the underwear being too small, so I figured I'd try on a pair of my husband's 29-year-old male boxers. They're sized large and too big for me, but oh my god, it was the most comfortable thing I've ever tried on in my life. Breezy and loose, and even the places where I had the rash didn't hurt. My husband had already left for work for the day, so I decided to just borrow them. At the end of the day, we both come home, and I tell him that I borrowed his underwear and asked if it was okay to continue borrowing some until the baby comes. Less than 2 months left, or at least until the rash is better. He seemed a bit weirded out, but said it was okay. Fast forward a few days, and we're going to bed, and he flips out at me and asks me why I'm wearing his good bamboo underwear. I'm confused, but he points at the band where it says bamboo. Then he goes on a long rant about how his few pairs of bamboo underwear are the comfiest and best quality, etc., etc. I swear, this is not an ad for bamboo underwear. I apologized and said I just picked the pair off the top, just like I did the other times. But he was upset and said I wasn't allowed to borrow his underwear anymore. I said I wouldn't borrow the ones that said bamboo on them since it bothered him, but he just drew a hard line saying I should go buy bigger underwear for myself and stop stealing his. Now, I'm thinking this is probably more about how he actually doesn't want me to borrow his underwear, and he's using me accidentally taking the wrong pair as an excuse, but I'm not sure. So anyway, Reddit, am I the jerk for thinking my husband should let me borrow his underwear, or am I just entitled? If it's like their fate.
Okay, and he didn't bring that up to her sooner. Why? Like, how? What? Like, dude, if you have a personal favorite brand of underwear, like boxers, what boxers? Okay, okay, so you have your favorite pair of boxers, and you said to her, "Yes, you can wear my favorite. You can wear my boxers." Is there a reason? Hold on a second. I got something going there. Sorry. Um. Anyway, so I so why didn't he think of saying, "Well, you can borrow my underwear, but try not to borrow this specific kind of boxers that I wear"? He could have said that from the beginning, but instead he chose not to. If A, you didn't want the person to borrow your boxers, or B, you allowed him to do it, but you don't specifically say not to wear this kind. That's a you. That's a him. That's a he. That's a his problem. Because if he had an issue with it in any way, he should have said something. Either that, or he should have said, like I said twice now, this being the third time I've said it, where he could have said, "Well, you can wear this pair of." There we go. As I was saying, um, so yeah, either say yes, but not this specific kind, or say no. Those were your three simple options. It's on you if you did not specify which ones you did not want her to wear. That's on you, not her. So no, OP is not the asshole. I have dogs in the background. Hold on a second, I'll be right back. That dog's in the background. Give me a minute. Okay, I have returned. Oh! Tyler! Welcome back! Yes, it has been way too long. Way too long. So, yeah. so, long story short, yeah, OP is not the asshole. He, so he's not the, OP is not the asshole. But the other person kind of being an asshole, like kind of coming up with an excuse, like the OP said, it seems like. So yeah, that's what I think about that one. Next story!
Deal with it. Our next story is, am I
Yeah,
the
deal
jerk
with
for
it.
wearing my engagement ring when I knew my stepsister was getting engaged? I, 28-year-old female,
Okay, I already can say no, but I already want to say no, but let's be good people and listen to the story.
got engaged at the beginning of December. For Christmas, I was staying with my mom and stepdad, and they were hosting my stepdad's whole family step siblings, mother, brothers, cousins, and families for a New Year's party. Prior to this, my
Oh yeah,
stepsister, 29-year-old,
oh yeah, I should probably say that I'm doing pretty good. Okay, I'm doing okay for the time being. Kind of a bit of a rough start 2023, but I'm doing okay outside of that.
female, Rachel's now fiance Matt, informed my parents that he was
Well,
going
let me go ahead and go back for a little bit there.
brothers, cousins, and families for a New Year's party. Prior to
Oh, let
this,
me
my
let me go
stepsister,
back to the
20
beginning of it all. Hold on.
for wearing my engagement ring when I knew my stepsister was getting engaged. I, 28-year-old female, got engaged at the beginning of December. For Christmas, I was staying with my mom and stepdad, and they were hosting my stepdad's whole family step siblings, mother, brothers, cousins, and families for a New Year's party. Prior to this, my stepsister, 29-year-old female, Rachel's now fiance Matt, informed my parents that he was going to propose and asked if it would be okay to do it at the party, and my parents agreed. For the party, everyone was dressing up, and obviously to me, I was wearing my engagement ring. Everybody already knew I was engaged, but it was the first time they'd seen the ring in person. So at the start of the party, everyone was interested in seeing it. I did notice Matt was being a bit cold with me, but I thought it was nerves. The proposal happened, and it was beautiful. Everyone congratulated Rachel, but it was kind of a 50-50 on people wanting to look at and compliment her ring and mine. A lot of comparisons were made, nothing unkind, and everyone was
Alright.
really happy for Rachel, as was I. The day after, Rachel and Matt blew up at me about wearing my ring to the party. Rachel said I was deliberately trying to draw attention to myself on her special night, and that since I knew beforehand she was getting engaged, I shouldn't have worn my ring, since I don't always wear it anyway. I don't really agree with this, since I've been engaged for weeks and everyone already knew about it. It's not like I stole her thunder, nor did I intend to by wearing my ring. I wore it because I'm engaged, so it's what you do. Matt then accused me of embarrassing by wearing my colossally large ring when I knew Rachel's wouldn't be anywhere near as big, and intentionally showing him up in front of the family. He even went on about the other jewelry I wore.
I'm okay other than that weird story I said about this that just happened. And I hope you are too. I heard what you said about a rocky start. And it's yeah, we're all okay though. My family and I we're all okay. We're just going through a little bit of a rough time right now, but yeah, we're trying to make the transition. But yeah, as far as I can see, everybody's doing okay at the moment. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know what happened because I had to deal with some dogs that I could hear barking in the background. So I just wanted to see what was going on with them before I came back to redo the story. Speaking of, let's finish it because I'm feeling like because based on where I'm seeing the timestamp, I'm near the end of it.
My stepdad called them both stupid for their outburst. My stepbrother says there's no way I could have known that's how they'd feel. It's not like they asked me not to wear it. My mom says while she knows I didn't do it deliberately, she can see where Rachel is coming from, since everyone preferred my ring to hers. She also said that given that my ring is quite unique, I should have considered it would draw attention. Opie's just a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so OP is not really the asshole here. It just sort of happened. Like, okay, so everybody knew she was engaged, right? How many of them seen the ring beforehand? And number two, as it's called, the Damn, bro. Wow, okay. Um okay. Um wow. That would be his kind of response, by the way. But anyway, but anyway, yeah, that it's just something that sort of happened, and OP's family member just took it a little bit too seriously. At the same time, they if they didn't want her to wear her ring, I'm pretty sure they could have politely asked her. She probably would have obliged because it was her sister. It was a special day for her sister and her fiance. But at the same time, OP. At the same time, people should not have made the comparisons to begin with. Like, okay, so what? So what if one ring is better than the other? Don't say that out loud. If anything, think about it in your head. Don't say it out loud because then the other person that you're saying, well, that ring is better than yours. Yeah, that person, if you say that kind of thing, was like, well, I like your sister's ring, like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just a problem with family just deciding to open their mouths and say the wrong things that they could possibly say. Hey, Mr. Coconut, how you doing tonight? But yeah, OP is not the asshole here. Sister kind of took things a little too out of proportion, as well as her fiance. Not only that, but they don't really get into who has the better life financially. It comes into that too. It's the thought that, yeah, exactly. The problem here is, who honestly I wouldn't give a hoot and holler about the rings. Like if one ring is if both rings are in their own ways beautiful, I will say so. Yeah, her ring's beautiful, your ring's beautiful too. I'm not gonna make any comparison comments. That no, get out of here. Yeah, so OP's not the asshole. It's just something that took out of, that just got blown way out of proportion for absolutely no reason. Absolutely no reason.
This next story is, am I the jerk for missing my wife's annual Christmas party because my ex died? My wife and I have been married for 3 years. Ever since we met, I've gone with her to a holiday party hosted by her and her best friend.
Okay.
It's a fairly large party that grows every year. This year, I didn't attend. My wife's still pretty upset with why I didn't. 2 days before the party, I was notified my ex-fiancé had passed. I didn't know the details, but it hit me very hard. To be honest, towards the end of things, we didn't have the best relationship, and I'll spare those details. She was an addict and had relapsed, which heavily influenced the ending of our relationship. I went through a lot of grief leaving her in that state. Maybe it hit me because I feel like I didn't do enough to help her. In any case, I was pretty down and didn't feel like socializing. I told my wife I was going to skip the party. When I was first notified, I told my wife, to which she said, "I'm sorry, are you okay?" I thought she would understand my reasoning, but she didn't. She was quite offended I was bothered enough about my ex that I wouldn't feel up to her party. After the party, she came home and said, "I can't believe you're this upset about some junkie." I was honestly taken back by her cold, callous attitude. My ex was a daughter, a mother, and a sister. She was somebody that was messed up from life. I spent the next several days and into Christmas putting on a fake happy face, and tried not thinking about my ex. Over the weekend, I had more calls about the details involving her death, which further upset me. My wife, noticing something was off, asked if I still loved her, my ex, and is that why I'm devastated? She says it's weird how I'm mourning the loss of my ex when I haven't had anything to do with her in years. I explained to my wife that she, my ex, was my first love and I did love her as a person. Last night I told my wife I'll be attending my ex's funeral and I'd like for her to come if she wanted. She became angered by that, saying that she doesn't want to go near a junkie's funeral because the place will be full of addicts, which might be partially true, but I think I should be allowed to pay my last respects regardless. She told me if I end up going, we're going to have problems. I don't know what she meant by that, but she threw in my face how this ruined our holiday, and again stated that she can't believe I missed her party because of my ex. She told me I need to seek professional help, because it's not normal for a married man to be upset about his ex dying.
I think I don't need to say anything. I think we all have the same conclusion by now. I don't think I need to say anything.
And thinking, maybe she's right. I don't know why I'm mourning her loss. I began asking myself if I still had feelings for my ex, but in my head I knew things were done. I wouldn't have married my wife if I felt things weren't finished with a previous relationship. I've practically stopped myself from grieving because I guess it shouldn't have mattered to me. I asked my wife if she'd be upset if her ex died. She said that's different because she shared.
Oh, because of course it's different! Yeah! It's always different!
Child with him. That last line is such a crazy red flag. This.
Yeah, totally different, isn't it, right? Let me explain why the OP is definitely not the asshole. First and foremost, the obvious ending to it. First of all, it is not different. It is not different whatsoever. If let's put it to you this way. So she says, well, I have a child with my ex, so of course it's different. No, it isn't. Okay, so both people have an ex, right? You have OP and their ex that have just died, and this girlfriend and her ex, right? Okay. So both people have somebody that were involved in their life for a certain amount of time, regardless of how long that amount of time was, right? So, answer is no. Nothing is different outside of the fact that, they both may have had different personalities, they did different things, whatever. That's the only thing different. Everything else is not different. They both have exes in their lives. So, yeah. Yeah, that could be another thing, too. It's like, the way she says it could injure our relationship, that kind of does seem like a red flag in itself. But to say that it's somehow different, how could you say it's very different? I don't see how it could be different. Just because they both have different, they had different experiences with exes, that doesn't mean one ex is better than the other. It's just that, it's just that, they both have memories shared with their respective exes, right? So OP is wanting to mourn the loss of his ex because she had she was part of his life for a certain amount of time, regardless of how long. And if he wants to show respect, pay his respects to her, that's fine. I would have no issue with it. If I was in her shoes, I would probably have no issue with it. But for her to say she has an issue, and to make the assumption that because she was an addict, that there may be other people that will be there that are also addicts, that may be true, but at the same time, it may not be true. You just don't. If you don't know the X, don't make assumptions. Just don't say anything. Like, it's okay if you don't want to be there. I would completely. If I was in the OP shoes, I'd be like, okay, you don't want to be there? Fine. I totally respect that. But I would appreciate it if you respected my wishes for me to go there. And if she's not going to respect my wishes of being there, then there's gonna be some problems somewhere down the line. I feel like a family member just got home because I could hear my dogs barking in the background. I did have a family member message me not too long ago saying they're on the way home, so they're probably here now. But let's take a look at our next story, number 9. But yeah, thank you, Coconut. Thank you. I know my shit, even if, and I don't mean to cuss in case there's some child-friendly people here, but I know my stuff, even if I've never experienced it, because of growing up with my parents, they have taught me things about relationships. So yeah, my parents have helped me know about this sort of stuff. It's so easy. But these young people these days, they don't know what they're doing out there. They just crazy. Anyway, so this is not a am I the asshole, but more of will I be the asshole?
Story is, would I be the jerk for putting a camera in the kitchen without telling my husband? So, some strange things have been happening. My husband's complaining about me forgetting things, like loading the dishwasher and not switching it on, or leaving the stove or oven on after cooking, or not putting things back in the fridge. Things I'm 95% sure I remember to do. I'll switch on the boiler, aka water heater for US readers,
All
or a
right.
hot bath, and an hour later it'll be off. My husband says he didn't touch it. Then this morning I came to brush my teeth, and my toothbrush already had toothpaste on it. What the freak? Did I come earlier? Did I not brush my teeth last night? That's just plain weird. Now, I might be in denial, or have paranoia as an exciting extra, or I just read too much Reddit, but it occurs
You
to me
read
this
too
could
much
also be
Reddit.
gaslighting in the old fashioned sense. I have no reason to suspect my husband of doing anything like that, but like affairs, that's what everyone thinks, isn't it? So I'd like to install a camera to reassure myself that it's really me doing these things. Obviously, I can't get permission from my husband without defeating the whole purpose, but I don't want to damage my relationship in the much more likely case that all this has nothing to do with him. I've heard a million things like this before, and everybody in the comments here said it already. But step one, if you're noticing weird occurrences like this happening in your own home, check for possible carbon monoxide poisoning. Makes you loopy, forgetful, but also you have every right to put a camera in your own house.
Yeah, he's got it right to a T, really. I don't know much about carbon monoxide poisoning because I've never experienced that kind of thing before. But yeah, if anything, just make an excuse. Just come up with an excuse or something. But either way, he is right. If you have the right to put security cameras, like cameras of any kind in your own home. Like even if the other person objects to it, and if they do object to what you're doing, then that might tell you something there. I'm just saying. Um, but yeah, if you feel like something's going on and you feel like cameras will be a good, safe bet, have at it. Just do what you want to do with it. Because hold on, I'll be right back. I can hear my mama. I can hear my family member right here. Hold on one second. I'll check her out. I'll check up on her, see how she's doing. I'll be right back. I need to watch out where my things because then it's gonna be one of those taken out of context compilations if I don't be careful. Anyway, I'll be right back. Okay. 2 hours later. Yeah. Oh, yeah. To 2 hours. Yeah, when it says 68 minutes on my screen. Ah! Anyway, I have returned. Stayed with my mama for a minute just to see what was going, see how her day was and all that. Uh, yeah, she had a pretty good day. Anyway, so we were talking. So what were we? I don't know if we were talking about. I know what we were talking about, but I lost my train of thought because I was checking up on her to see how she was doing. But anyway, what? What? The question. What exactly? Listen to this question and you'll see why I'm kind of wondering what the hell happened here.
Next story is: am I the jerk for reprimanding my son about kissing his ex's brother? I honestly can't even believe that this is happening. I, 49-year-old female, have a son, 21-year-old male, who used to date his childhood best friend, same age. Honestly, they were such a cute couple, and I was sure they would get married one day, but unfortunately, they've broken up before they went to college. I was so heartbroken for them. However, me and her ex-girlfriend still kept being in contact, and I was deep down hoping they'd get back together once they'd finished with their studies, as she still seemed to be in love with him. But all my hopes went crashing down when his ex called to tell me sobbing that she witnessed my son making out with his shirtless brother, around 2 years older. He and my son went to college in the same city. I honestly thought she was joking at first. This couldn't be real. My son used to hate her brother while they were kids, and the feeling was mutual. Not to mention that my son never expressed interest in men before. He's always been attracted exclusively to women. I called my son to talk about this, but he was just mad that his ex outed him to me when it was none of her business. But I asked him how he could do this to her when she really loved him and still does. And he goes and sleeps with her own brother behind her back? He just told me that he doesn't owe her anything anymore as they're broken up, and that he's tired of me trying to pressure him to get back together with her just to be her perfect little couple she always dreamt of being. He said he finally found true love, regardless of how imperfect I or anyone else may think it is. I was shocked by my son's behavior. I never tried to force anyone onto him. I just wanted him to be happy. Also, he and that boy couldn't even tolerate each other when they were kids or teens. How am I supposed to believe that they went from that to true love? I feel like the boy is just manipulating my son's confusion/phase so he can get free sex out of him. But my son didn't want to hear me out and just hung up and then even blocked me. I now can't reach him, and I wonder if I messed up and shouldn't have said all these things about the guy he's currently infatuated with. Am I the jerk? I feel like OP is just too far on the outside of all of this for them to be trying to be so darn involved. Our next story is:
How I view about that? Let's just get the elephant out of the room. I don't know. You can't really tell she's being homophobic or not. But I will say this much. First of all, the thing is, the ex-girlfriend seems like she's trying to be a little too, how do I say this nicely? She's being a little bit too butthurt. That, OP's child did something with her brother after the two of them broke up. But guess what? It is not up to her or the mother to decide who he gets to kiss and who he doesn't get to kiss, as long as the other person that he kisses is okay with the kiss. Too many kisses being involved here, but still. The fact of the matter is, it's up to the son who he wants to be with. And they already broken up, so what difference does it make with her outside of the fact that it's another family member of hers? Now, the mom is thinking too much into this to add one more, dot dot dot. Um, the mother at the same time is more like looking at things. So, I want to rock and roll at a party every day. Okay. But I feel like the mom is thinking too much about, the past and not looking at the present and the future. Like, yeah, okay. So they had a good relationship before they broke it off or whatever for the reasons that they had. Okay, fine. But why are you acting like the two of them have to get back together somehow? What is with the OP that's making her think that, well, my son and, my child and their ex will get back together? That is honestly, and I'm not saying this to bash anybody, that is honestly child tier logic. Because I've seen shows where children have that kind of mentality themselves. Well, they think that, well, my parents are gonna get back together eventually, right? This is what the mom is doing. This is child tier logic. The mother should know better than this. Now there is the possibility that it could happen, that it probably could have happened before, what happened between her child and the child's ex's brother did what they did. But after that, the mother should have been like, well, shit happens. Seriously. Like, things happen that, the ex didn't like, and so if the ex didn't like it, alright. At the same time, the mom is not helping matters whatsoever by basically getting herself involved in a situation that honestly has nothing to do with her. Like, if she may have her own opinions, and that's fine. But if it has nothing to do with her, don't get involved. Seriously, just don't ever get involved in your children's personal lives when it comes to relationships unless they come to you for advice or if you feel like they should hear your advice. But if they don't want to hear your advice, then don't tell them and let them deal with it. Simple as it gets. But yeah, OP, kind of the asshole there. But, honestly, it's just a messed up situation.
Am I the jerk for asking my brother to share his daughter's inheritance from our cousin with my stepdaughter? My cousin Laura passed last year, which was devastating for our whole family. There's now some conflict with the inheritance. Laura's will left everything to her husband and future children, but if not, a third would go to her parents and a third to charity. The final third to be divided between 6 nieces and nephews, accessible when they turn 18. Laura was an only child, so the nieces and nephews in question are her cousin's kids. Me and my brother are her only cousins from her mom's side, my aunt. But from her dad's, she has 9. From all of us, there are a total of 7 kids, including my brother's daughter and my stepdaughter. Me and my stepdaughter were hurt when we realized my stepdaughter wasn't a part of this third. Recently, I brought up to my brother that he should share niece's inheritance with stepdaughter. I said it's more fair this way and would lower resentment between the kids later on. My niece is only 5 compared to my stepdaughter who's 16, so it would be more useful for her in the near future. Also, I'm not saying it has to be half and half, but just a portion for stepdaughter. My brother didn't take this well and went off, saying the money is for his daughter and we're being greedy. But I got upset and said no one in this family really cares about stepdaughter and are more focused on blood ties. He's pissed at me, but some other people who know what happened are on my side. Am I the jerk?
How you just said that last bit, not really the best thing to be saying in a heated argument, okay? In an argument, okay? Not really the best. And if you feel like you're about to say something like that, back away for a little bit, calm down, and then, just don't, another messed up family situation. That's the thing with inheritances, with a family inheritance. It may or may not cause it may or may not. It may cause issues within the family because, well, some family members will think, well, I deserve this because of this reason, when in reality the inheritance of certain things will go to certain people for a reason. So yeah. So hold on, I want to list. I honestly lost track a little bit with the story, so I want to hear it again a little bit here. So I
My
know
brother to share his daughter's inheritance from our cousin with my stepdaughter. My cousin Laura passed last year, which was devastating for our whole family. There's now some conflict with the inheritance. Laura's will left everything to her husband and future children, but if not, a third would go to her parents and a third to charity. The final third to be divided between 6 nieces and nephews, accessible when they turn 18. Laura was an only child, so the nieces and nephews in question are her cousin's kids. Me and my brother are her only cousins from her mom's side, my aunt. But from her dad's, she has 9. From all of us, there are a total of 7 kids, including my brother's daughter and my stepdaughter. Me and my stepdaughter were hurt when we realized my stepdaughter wasn't a part of this third.
So let me see if I get this straight. Okay. So obviously, like I said, with a family inheritance, it tends to lead to conflict for one reason or another. I explained that. Let's see. So let's see. So everything to her husband and future children. But if not, so I'm guessing if so future children, so I'm guessing they didn't have any children. I am kind of confused by that little tidbit. But anyway, a third would go to her parents and a third to charity. The final third would be divided between 6 nieces and nephews, accessible when they turn 18. Laura was an only child, so the nieces and nephews in question are her cousin's kids. Me and my brother are her only cousins from her mom's side, my aunt, but from her dad's side, she has 9. From all of her there are a total of 7 kids, including my brother's daughter and my stepdaughter. And my stepdaughter were hurt when we realized my stepdaughter wasn't part of this third. I'm a little bit confused. I really am, because of how it all was working out. I'm kind of confused.
Recently, I brought up to my brother that he should share niece's inheritance with stepdaughter. I said it's more fair this way and would lower resentment between the kids later on. My niece is only 5 compared to my stepdaughter who's 16, so it would be more useful for her in the near future. Also, I'm not saying it has to be half and half, but just a portion for stepdaughter. My brother didn't take this well and went off, saying the money is for his daughter and we're being greedy. But I got upset and said no one in this family really cares about stepdaughter and are more focused on blood ties. He's pissed at me, but some other people who know what happened are on my side. Am I the jerk?
I will say, though, I think we can all agree, saying that very last tidbit there, probably was not the best idea. I think we can all agree with that, though.
The next story is, am I the jerk for...
And he doesn't... I don't know what to say here because of how the inheritance was working. Confused the hell out of me. I can't really say anything because of how the inheritance was being discussed. Like, it just confused me. So I can't really say anything without being like, well, I don't know, maybe not, It's just like how the inheritance was being played out. It's kind of confusing to me, so maybe if somebody could explain it better, I might be able to understand it and give a judgment call. But otherwise, I don't know what to say because of how they typed it confused me. But this is the last one for the video. Man, we've been at this for like about nearly an hour and a half with this one video. But we're at the tail end of it, so let's hear it.
A tent full of toys and books in the living room when my nieces and nephews aren't allowed to use it?
So, hold on. Let me see the question again here.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for having a tent full of toys and books in the living room when my nieces and nephews aren't allowed to use it? My husband and I have 4 kids, Allie, 17, Andrew, 15, Charlotte, 12, and Lucas, 9. And we've been fostering Emily, 6, for almost a year. Emily has special needs. She gets overwhelmed easily, and when she gets overwhelmed, she hides. Emily is also very small and a master at getting herself into tight spaces. Under the couch, inside a kitchen cabinet, inside a dollhouse, etc. So when she hides, it can take forever to find her. She'll also lock the door of the room that she's hiding in, then hide to make it that much harder to get to her. We bought her a tent shortly after she moved in with us. We let her pick out everything in the tent, from the mat on the floor to the toys and books inside, and we got her to go to her tent whenever she gets overwhelmed or feels like she has to hide. Nobody is allowed in that tent without Emily's permission. We have the tent in a corner in the living room. It's one of the few places where she can't lock a door, and we can see her in the tent from most places in the house. My family hosted Christmas this year. Before everyone came over, we told Emily to put away whatever toys she didn't want anyone playing with. She put some of her toys in her tent and some in her room and insisted on locking the door. When everyone got here, Emily hid in her tent and started to play with her toys. We explained to the kids that the tent is Emily's special place and that they're not allowed to go inside or use any of the toys inside. The kids were upset, but we had a couple of toys for them. Plus, Lucas was willing to share his toys. My siblings approached me multiple times on Christmas and asked why I put something so tempting as a tent full of toys in front of their kids and then say they're not allowed to use it. I explained that the tent prevents Emily from endangering herself and that it has to be there because it's one of the few places where we can see it from most places in the house. When we got
Yeah, I'll be back later. If you're on tonight, we can talk. I'm going to stream. Alright, Kyler, thank you for stopping by. For the time being. I don't know if I'll be on tonight. Probably. I'll probably be going to bed early tonight anyway because I have to go to work early tomorrow. So just bear that in mind. I'll be going to work like the next couple work days that I have. I'm getting up at early morning hours and I have to be there at 10 in the morning. So, yeah. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen. But anyway, let's get back to the story so you can hear the rest of it.
out of the tent, some kids tried to go inside, and I told them that they're not allowed in there even when Emily isn't in the tent. I closed it up and put duct tape on the zipper to prevent the kids from opening it. Some siblings left right after we ate because of the tent, and some stayed but berated me in private for taunting their kids with the tent. My parents agree with my siblings that it was rude and want to host future holidays so Emily won't have the tent. Was I the jerk for keeping the tent in plain sight when there were kids that would want to use it? None of these people understand.
Okay, everybody. I think we can all agree that OP was not the bumhole. OP was not the asshole. It's the rest of the family are assholes because even after it's explained to them, they cannot comprehend that there's a reason why this tent is here in the first place. And there's a reason why this little girl has all these toys in the tent. If they can't comprehend that, that's a them problem. Not you, OP. That's on them, not you. So, no. OP is not the asshole, but the family kind of are having their asshole moments. So yeah, there's your answer.
Why the tent is there or what the purpose is. All of these people are so entitled they can't understand that Emily has conditions.
Right.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for getting mad at my friend for taking a vacation during my birthday? My two friends and I, all 38-year-old female, always made up for our birthdays every year. We exchange presents and do a group activity and a meal. The birthday girl gets treated to everything. My birthday is at the end of this month. I sent a group text to my friends with the restaurant I want to go to and asked if a specific date works for everyone. Sarah said she won't be there, so I asked, what about another weekend? And apparently she's going to be away for a few months. She said to just celebrate without her. I felt pretty offended that she would choose to vacation during my birthday. I feel like it's a slight. Plus, Sarah's been acting weird and talking less to me for months now. I texted her and asked if everything was okay, and I'm a straightforward person. So I told her directly, I feel like you've been avoiding me. Why else would you purposefully go away for my birthday? Sarah immediately got defensive and annoyed. She said I'm a hypocrite because I went away for her birthday weekend last year, and you didn't hear her complain. Plus, I'm always a diva when it comes to our other friends' birthdays, and overall, she needs a break from our friendship because she just doesn't think I've been a good friend. So now I'm not talking to her. She has a lot of animosity towards me for no reason. Am I the jerk for getting upset she's ditching me on my birthday? First of all, I think OP's definitely being entitled, saying you can't go on a vacation when it overlaps with my birthday. Secondly, I feel like there's a lot of context we're missing that may point to OP being a bad friend, I don't know. But with...
Yeah, there is that context of, well, something's... Yeah, it seems like they're purposefully leaving things out of the story to paint their friend in a negative light. I would not be surprised if people in the comment section of that post were feeling the same way. The one thing that I would say though, okay, so she was planning a trip that would involve your birthday. Do you know if this trip was pre-planned months in advance or just recently? Either way, the fact of the matter is, if you did it yourself, but yet you're going off on your friend for doing it as well. Like, if you did it to your friend, and yet you're complaining to your friend that she's doing the same thing to you, that is hypocritical. Okay, very hypocritical. Very. Yeah. OP's the asshole. Let's just say it right there. They're the asshole. Alright, let's take a look here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, if you have any recommended stuff on my any Reddit stories on my recommended. Oh wait. Was this what I heard? Oh, I heard about this. I gotta watch this.
Damar Hamlin wasn't the only player involved in the tragic events of January 2nd, but why is Cincinnati Bengals receiver T. Higgins taking flack for his involvement? Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin collapsed suddenly and went into cardiac arrest during a January 2nd game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Dr. David Agus told CBS News that this may have been caused by commotio cordis, which occurs when somebody is hit in the chest at the right place at a specific time. Agus mentioned that it can most likely happen in baseball and soccer when a ball hits the chest at speed.
His heart is working now, and that's...
Oh yeah, by the way, they did show the clip of Hamlin, falling back and hitting his head on the turf. I'm not going to show any of that. Just listen to hear what we got here.
Is what we're told, but the real question is, was there injury to the brain in that period?
Although most of the love and support has gone to Hamlin and his family, fans have also urged people to keep Cincinnati Bengals receiver T. Higgins in their thoughts. Bengals reporter Kels...
Yeah, I did hear that too. I was watching some news clips about his condition earlier. I even heard that he opened his eyes, he seems to be doing a lot better. And the first thing that he said when he spoke was, who won the game? But yeah, like I said before, it's nice to hear that he's doing better. And I hope that he, he's still listed under critical condition. But I will say that I hope that he makes it out okay in the end. I did make a statement regarding, something that may seem a bit controversial, but I made a comparison of what I was saying to that one scene in Coach Carter where Carter was, and that one, if you see in Coach Carter, you'll know the scene I'm talking about. But it's the one scene where you had Carter, the parents of the players involved, and God knows however many other parents, as well as the school board in a meeting, and it was basically about Carter's decision to lock the gym because the students' academic levels were not up to where they should have been based on the contract that they wrote. Some teachers complained about it. Parents were complaining about it. The ironic part is the players themselves didn't complain about it. They just silently walked into the room and they heard everything that was going down. I feel like the whole point of what Carter was trying to prove in that scene was that, there are going to be those there's going to be those sports players who are going to who are going to have those long successful careers, and there's going to be those other players that are going to be that are going to have forced retired. Those careers where they end in forced retirement, no matter how long or how short the career is. So he's given them this other option to be like, well, if this happens and it forces you to retire from the sport that you love doing, do you have any other idea of do you have any other options that you to pursue? And with Damar Hamlin, of course, I don't want him to. It would be sad if he had to retire from the sport that he loves doing. But to me personally, the most important thing is his well-being. That is the most important thing out of everything. And if anybody is going to try to go off on me, part of me would probably feel like they're going to call me out for not really being much of a sports fan or looking too much into it. Or they're going to be too much of a diehard Buffalo Bills fan that they just don't want to respect what I'm saying just because, they are diehard. Somebody could be diehard Buffalo Bills fan. That's the issue with sports. We talk about some sports sometimes. People take things a little too seriously, and it's like, oh my god, dude, I'm just saying this. I mean, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's fine, but don't go flipping your head. Don't go flipping your lid over what I'm saying. Just have a nice, polite conversation. That's all I ask for. Anyway.
Tweeted, just stood with T. Higgins' mom, who is now walking out with T, who has his arm wrapped around her. T was the one who collided with Damar Hamlin before he collapsed. A video of ESPN NFL analyst Bart Scott went viral after it seemed like he was accusing Higgins of causing the incident. When he was asked to explain what he thought happened, Scott claimed that the receiver lowered his head to break the potential tackle, adding that he believes a penalty should have been issued on the play. However, it turns out that it was Higgins' shoulder, not his head, that made contact with Hamlin's chest, making the play legal. Now it looks like the young safety's family is urging people to stop blaming Higgins for what happened. ESPN reporter Coley Harvey recently spoke with Damar Hamlin's family following the 24-year-old's on-field collapse. It was revealed that Hamlin's father is fed up with the hate comments Cincinnati Bengals receiver T. Higgins has been getting. Harvey tweeted, Damar's father is among those calling for any criticisms of Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, who was part of the play Damar was injured on, to stop. Former NFL player Jack Brewer told Fox Business that he believes the incident was just a series of unfortunate events, indicating that Higgins didn't do anything wrong. He said, "This was a routine tackle. I've made hundreds of tackles like that where a player gets under your pads a little bit and kind of hits you in the chest, and that's what happened." Despite receiving some criticism, Higgins' Instagram has been flooded with positive comments from fans. As one fan commented, "Just remember, T, the situation could easily have been reversed. If you were on the other end, would you blame Damar? No, you would not. Hold on to that thought." Meanwhile, Hamlin's marketing rep and close friend Jordan Rooney told Spectrum News 1, "If you think you're supporting Damar by bashing T, you're not supporting Damar." He added that the safety's family wants the Bengals receiver to know that he shouldn't feel guilty for what happened, telling the outlet, "It was a freak football accident that could have happened with anyone at any time." Cincinnati Bengals head coach Zach Taylor offered an update on Higgins, saying, "T has handled it well. My communication with him is that he's doing okay." Shortly after the incident took place, Higgins took to Twitter to publicly share his thoughts, writing, "My prayers and thoughts go out to the Hamlin family. I'm praying that you pull through, bro. Love." Jordan Rooney also spoke to Cincinnati's WLWT about the Buffalo Bills safety's health status. He mentioned that the family has become new fans of Cincinnati because of the support they have received from the city, Rooney said. The hospital staff, Coach Taylor, his wife, the Bengals, everyone has stepped up to the plate and has showed so much selflessness to be able to support the family. Following the incident, fans from both the Bengals and the Bills made their way to UC Health Center to light candles and place signs supporting Hamlin.
We're all here for him, and I'm just glad to see two different cities come together.
You know, that's the one thing you gotta give credit to the sports fans sometimes. They're there to watch a game, and of course they're gonna cheer on their team. Like,
We've got a crazy story of getting...
Hold on a second, let me finish my thought video. Anyway, I was gonna say, everybody's gonna have their favorite team they want to support. You know, you had the Bills fans and you had the Bengals fans. But once what happened with Damar Hamlin happened, everybody just stopped. They just stopped dead in their tracks and they started pouring all the love and support toward Hamlin. Everybody was doing that. I remember when it happened. I didn't know what happened at first up until a channel, Highlight Heaven, I think it was, I think it was Highlight Heaven. He was talking about how he wasn't going to show the clip of what happened out of respect for Hamlin. So, and people respected that. Everybody in the comments basically really respected his decision. So I looked it up and I watched a doctor's perspective on what happened with Hamlin. And he went into full detail about what seemed like was the possible cause of what happened to him. And so, yeah. And then I started watching some news updates on his condition here and there. I've watched like 3 to 5 of them just today alone. Whenever they were recent uploads about, what he was going through. So yeah, I've been watching them all day today on YouTube, no matter how long ago it was. If it was like a more recent updated video, then I'd watch it. But yeah, it's really nice to see the football, the NFL fans of any team, come out and support Damar Hamlin. At the same time, I feel like, I think everybody should respect the father's wishes and not really go off on T. Higgins because it's just something that just happened. It's like it's literally one of those moments that's like 1 in a million type of thing, 1 in a million chance of happening. And this just happened to happen to a young player who got hit hard enough by another player on a tackle, and that caused him to fall down. So I'm not blaming T. Higgins for it, because he just hit Damar Hamlin at the worst possible time. And, so I'm not really going to blame him for it. It's just something that happened. But I do hope that Damar Hamlin makes it out okay in the end, honestly, no matter what happens after his... hopefully he makes this recovery. A full recovery, speedy or not. As long as he's doing okay, to me, that's the most important thing. With that said, let's go ahead. I just see, right next to it, we have this nuclear revenge. Let's take a listen to some of these stories.
We've got a crazy story of getting nuclear revenge while somebody was sleeping. We'll get to that in a bit, but first, I almost killed my Uber driver. At the beginning of autumn last year, I had just started
Whoa. already going crazy here, aren't we, with the Uber driver? Like, what? Let's hear the story first, and then I'll judge it, and then I'll judge whether his actions were justified.
And I was feeling on top of the world. I was making good money, and I was excited to finally be able to afford the things that I'd always wanted. On my first day, I decided to take an Uber to work, and that's when I met Jake. Jake was the Uber driver who picked me up on my first day of work. As soon as I got into the car, I could tell that he was different from the other drivers I'd encountered. He was charming and handsome, and he had a friendly smile that made me feel comfortable. Jake asked me about my job, and I found myself opening up to him. I told him about my new position and about my hopes and dreams for the future. Jake listened intently and he nodded along as I spoke. As they continued to talk, I realized that Jake was incredibly easy to talk to. He was smart, funny, and he seemed to have a lot in common with me. We talked about our hobbies, our favorite books, and our favorite TV shows, and I found myself laughing and smiling more than I had in a long time. Eventually, the conversation turned to relationships. Jake told me he was single and he asked me if I was seeing anyone. I hesitated, but I found myself wanting to be honest with him. I told him that I wasn't looking for a relationship, but that there was something about him that I couldn't resist. Jake smiled and he told me that he felt the same way. He said that he didn't want to pressure me into anything, but that he would love to see me again. I felt a flutter in my stomach and I found myself nodding. I gave Jake my number and we made plans to go out on a date. As they pulled up to my office,
Hold on. So I kind of got distracted. Let me hear the story again.
About my new position and about my hope. We've got a crazy story of getting nuclear revenge.
I was not even paying attention to this. Let me hear this again.
Somebody was sleeping. We'll get to that in a bit, but first, I almost killed my Uber driver. At the beginning of autumn last year, I had just started a new job, and I was feeling on top of the world. I was making good money, and I was excited to finally be able to afford the things that I'd always wanted. On my first day, I decided to take an Uber to work, and that's when I met Jake. Jake was the Uber driver who picked me up on my first day of work. As soon as I got into the car, I could tell that he was different from the other drivers I'd encountered. He was charming and handsome, and he had a friendly smile that made me feel comfortable. Jake asked me about my job, and I found myself opening up to him. I told him about my new position and about my hopes and dreams for the future. Jake listened intently and he nodded along as I spoke. As they continued to talk, I realized that Jake was incredibly easy to talk to. He was smart, funny, and he seemed to have a lot in common with me. We talked about our hobbies, our favorite books, and our favorite TV shows, and I found myself laughing and smiling more than I had in a long time. Eventually, the conversation turned to relationships. Jake told me he was single and he asked me if I was seeing anyone. I hesitated, but I found myself wanting to be honest with him. I told him that I wasn't looking for a relationship, but that there was something about him that I couldn't resist. Jake.
Oh, shoot. That's not really good. I don't think so, anyway.
Smiled and he told me that he felt the same way. He said that he didn't want to pressure me into anything, but that he would love to see me again. I felt a flutter in my stomach and I found myself nodding. I gave Jake my number and we made plans to go out on a date. As they pulled up to my office, Jake turned to me and smiled. He told me that he was glad he picked me up and that he was looking forward to our date. I smiled back, feeling excited and nervous. I thanked Jake for the ride and I got out of the car. As I walked into the office, I couldn't stop thinking about Jake. I was surprised by how much I'd enjoyed our conversation and by how much I hadn't.
Hey, Star Fox, how you doing tonight?
With him. I found myself looking forward to our date and I was excited to see what the future might hold. Over the next few weeks, me and Jake went on several dates. We went to restaurants, bars, and coffee shops, and we spent hours talking and getting to know each other. I found myself falling for Jake, and I was happy to see that he felt the same way. Or at least I thought so. At first, everything seemed perfect. Jake was a great listener, and he always made me feel special. He took me on romantic dates, and he showered me with attention. He brought me flowers, chocolates, and gifts. and he always made sure to make me feel loved and appreciated. However, as time went on, I started to notice some red flags. For one thing, Jake never offered to pay for anything. Whenever we went out, I ended up footing the bill. I didn't mind at first, but as the dates continued, I started to feel like Jake was taking advantage of me. At first, Jake's requests for me to pay for things were subtle. He would casually mention that he was a little short on cash or that he'd forgotten his wallet at home. I didn't mind. I knew he was earning way less than me, so it wasn't a bother for me to always offer to pay. Then Jake's requests became more frequent and more insistent. He started asking me to pay for things that I didn't want to pay for, like expensive tickets to a concert or a luxury trip to the beach. I would hesitate, but Jake would always convince me that it was the right thing to do for our relationship. Finally, I mentioned how I felt about Jake's request to him. I told him I didn't mind paying for some things, but that I didn't want to be taken advantage of. Jake just laughed it off and told me not to go down that road while thinking about it. He said that I was his girlfriend and that it was my job to support him.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Any man who thinks like that might as well just might as well just do things on their own. Because, as I've said 3 times now, no, it isn't.
It made sense, don't judge me, so we continued as we were. But another huge red flag was Jake's friends. I met some of them and they seemed like nice guys, but there was something about them that made me uncomfortable. They seemed to be leeching off of Jake, and I couldn't help but wonder if Jake was doing the same thing to me. One day I overheard Jake talking to one of his friends on the phone. He was saying that since I was bankrolling his life, I might as well continue. I was shocked and hurt. All the trust and stupidity vanished, and I realized Jake was using me for my money, and I decided that I'd had enough. Over the months that we dated, Jake would always talk about marriage and how eager he was to spend the rest of his life with me. Jake would always talk about our future together, and he would make grand plans for our life together. He would talk about buying a house, starting a family, and traveling the world. However, I soon realized that Jake was only interested in these things because he knew I would be the one paying for them. Jake just wanted to live off of me for the rest of his life. He would constantly talk about how much he loved me and how he couldn't imagine his life without me. He would tell me how lucky he was to have found me and how grateful he was for my support. But after the call I heard, I realized that Jake's words were empty and that he didn't truly care about me. I was heartbroken and I felt betrayed because I'd supported him against all possible odds. I couldn't believe that I'd been so blind to Jake's true intentions. I realized that I'd been played for a fool and that I'd let myself be used and manipulated by a man who didn't truly love me. I knew that I had to do something to stop Jake before he drained my bank account and left me with nothing, and I was prepared to be as drastic as I wanted to be. I called my friends and explained the situation to them. I had told them how I met Jake and how we started dating, and they had cautioned me when I started to notice the red flags. But they were shocked when I told them what Jake had said. And their anger was building as I told them how hurt and betrayed I felt, and how I wanted to get revenge. My friends were shocked and outraged. They couldn't believe that Jake had been using me, and they couldn't believe that he'd gotten away with it for so long. They told me that I deserved better and that I needed to stand up for myself.
Yep.
They offered to help me, and they told me that they would do whatever it took to make Jake pay.
Oh, yeah.
I was grateful for my friends' support, and I was relieved to have them by my side. I decided to take their advice and to take action against Jake. I knew that it wouldn't be easy and that I'd have to be careful, but I was determined to make Jake regret what he had done and to teach him a lesson that he would never forget. My friends and I spent hours coming up with the perfect plan to get the perfect revenge on Jake. We wanted to make him pay for using and manipulating me, and we wanted to teach him a lesson that he would never forget. After much discussion and brainstorming, we finally settled on an idea. I continued to pretend like Jake was the best thing since sliced bread, and I never let it show that I was disgusted by him. 2 weeks later, after the call, me and my friends put our plan into action. We knew that Jake was arrogant and egotistical, and that he wouldn't be able to resist the opportunity to talk to his bosses at Uber. We also knew that he would be completely unsuspecting, and that he wouldn't be expecting anything. We decided to send Jake a fake email from Uber, telling him he needed to come into a super secret meeting for top-rated drivers. We carefully crafted the email, using language and jargon that we knew would appeal to Jake's ego. We told him that he'd been selected to participate in a special program for elite drivers, and that he would need to come to a secret location to discuss the details. We told him that the meeting was highly confidential, and that he needed to keep it a secret from everyone. Jake was thrilled by the mail. He couldn't believe that he'd been chosen to participate in such a prestigious program. And I noticed the change in his countenance in the days leading up to the event. Me and my friends watched as Jake fell for the trap. To make it more believable, we'd included one of my friend's brothers in the plan. He ran an auto shop and we borrowed a few cars that were packed out front to make it seem like a busy building. As soon as Jake got out of his car, me and my friends sprang into action. We'd been hiding behind some bushes waiting for the perfect moment to strike. We quickly grabbed the tools we'd brought with us and we started working on ruining Jake's tires. My friends and I were careful to make as little noise as possible. They didn't want to alert Jake to their presence. While he tried and failed to find an office in the abandoned building, and we didn't want to give him any chance to escape, we worked quickly and efficiently, using our tools to puncture the tires and let the air out. In just a few minutes, all 4 of Jake's tires were completely flat. Me and my friends were pleased with their work, and we quickly hid the tools and made our way back to our hiding spot. When Jake finally realized what was happening, he stormed out of the building confused and angry. He tried to get back into his car, but it was no use. The tires were completely flat, and there was no way that he was going to be able to drive anywhere. He looked around trying to figure out who was responsible for ruining his tires, but he was unable to see anyone. Jake was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He was stranded. While Jake was trying to figure out what was going on, me and my friends made our move. We went to his house and trashed it, leaving a trail of destruction in our wake. By the time Jake finally figured out a way to make it back home, me and my friends were long gone. Jake was furious and he called me ranting about how horrible his day was, and he was determined to find out who was responsible for ruining his car and his home. And I was the clueless, helpful girlfriend, so he had no idea that I was behind or even capable of something like that. He searched for clues and he tried to piece together what had happened, but he came up empty. And when I thought his frustration was delightful enough, a few weeks after, I didn't hear from him at all. One of his friends sent me a message saying they'd been trying to reach me because Jake had tripped on some of the trash on his apartment floor on the day of the fake meeting and actually broke his knees. Yes, both of them. It was sad news for just a second until I realized that they'd only reached out to me because they thought I would have taken financial responsibility for Jake. But I simply blocked him and all the people I knew through him. I had taken away everything that could give him money at that moment. I was satisfied with my revenge. I'd stood up for myself, and I'd shown Jake that he couldn't mess with me. And I've since moved on with my life, feeling stronger and more confident than ever. I mean, obviously that's not the intended result, but that's a crazy turn.
Well then. Honestly, that was not as much of a story as I thought it would be. Like, yeah, it is nuclear revenge because you put him in a financial situation that he may or may not get himself out of. But at the same time, it's like, well, you did kind of kill him, but not physically, more financially than anything, so. But yeah, that's what happens when you treat a woman as a financial, how do I say this? As like a financial scapegoat to help you move up in your life. Because if you are not that determined to get a job, jeez, this reminds me of an elderly lady who got into a 7-year relationship with an American soldier who got stuck in some other country. She would always send him money and even started donating her own plasma to get money to send to him. until one day she got suspicious and hired some investigators to see if the guy she was talking to was fake. Turns out it wasn't the sending clearly photoshopped photos the way he spoke. He was clearly African. Except this lady kept making excuses to justify his every action. In the end, she blocked the guy, only to unblock him later, and continues to send him money to this day. Here's the kicker of the story. She's racist against African American men, even though the very man. Oh, so she's racist toward that group of people, but she's still supporting this one guy. Okay. Alright. I don't know how to interpret that, but okay. Second story, because it's the only one we got in this video.
That said, our next story is stepsister manipulated me into making an embarrassing bet, so I shaved off her eyebrows while she slept. Growing up, I had a huge problem with abandonment and acceptance. My therapist keeps telling me to dig into these feelings and find out where they're coming from. But seriously, there's nothing to dig, Dr. Maxwell. It's my dad. Duh. The dude left my mom when I was only 12 years old. As bad as that was for me, the years leading up to him walking out on us were worse. He yelled every time, and I could never do anything right in his eyes. But even with the daily dose of emotional abuse, I still came back to him, eager to please. All I wanted from him was his approval. I never got that though, and it messed me up really good. Anyways, my mom got married again, and I had a stepsister who treated me like crap, just like my dad. And again, I started to seek her own acceptance. When she knew this, she decided that it was more fun to take advantage of me. She manipulated me into doing a series of embarrassing things, which she caught on camera and sent to the whole school, thereby destroying the last bit of self-esteem I had left. I just couldn't let that slide, so I got my revenge. What I did to her might not sound like a big deal, but I knew how vain and superficial she was, so I hit her where it hurt the most. But let's start at the beginning. The last time I saw my dad was the day my mom found out that he'd been cheating on her. She had to take an early leave of work because she was ill, migraine, a side effect of all the yelling and fighting that they'd been doing for the past few months. Anyways, she left work and came straight home. Now, I wasn't there when it all happened because I was in school, but my mom was told and retold that story, and I came to have something close to a graphical representation of what happened that day. When she got home, she noticed that my dad's car was still in the driveway. That was surprising because he was the head of the sales department of the company where he worked, and that meant he was supposed to be at work to oversee sales projects, or something like that. We also saw him leave for work that morning, and he didn't call her that he was going to be back early. She didn't think anything of it at first. All she did was say a quick prayer before she walked in because she didn't want him to start a fight that afternoon. All she wanted to do was sleep off the migraine. She walked in, and the first thing that caught her eye was the half-drunk white wine on the kitchen counter, then the 2 wine glasses. 2 wine glasses? The next thing she noticed was a lady's purse on the couch.
Oh.
A purse that wasn't hers.
Oh.
That was when she realized that my dad was cheating on her. But with who? She walked quietly up the stairs to the master bedroom and pushed the door open. Turns out that my dad had been sleeping with one of the girls in the sales department.
Oh.
They were both on lunch break. So they...
Yes, I definitely treated that part like it was boring. I've watched so much Maury that I'm so used to the crowd being like, oh, oh, oh. But this is serious though, because cheating is no joke, and anybody that thinks it's a good idea to cheat on your significant other, whether you are just boyfriend, girlfriend, a fiance, or a husband and wife, yeah, whoever's doing the cheating in that relationship, I'm gonna punch you out of the... I'd be putting you like a football over the field goal post. That'd be my... I'm gonna be kicking you out. If I had somebody that was doing that kind of thing to me, I'd kick him out of my life like the football at the goal post. Da 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 da. Anyway.
That what better way to spend that break than to come into our home and disrespect and humiliate my mom. I came back home a few hours later and they were still arguing. Dad had his bags packed, and the last thing he did to me was push me out of the way as he walked to his car and drove off. The divorce was concluded in a few months, and Mom got the house in full custody of me. Although the me part was pretty easy, he clearly wanted nothing to do with me. I was pretty mad at my mom for a while, because, in my opinion, she was at fault. She never apologized, and she was always fighting back. I felt like she robbed me of my chance to grow up with my father. I was a kid then, so please forgive my thinking.
Okay.
Mom was pretty depressed for a while, and as the months went by, she retreated deeper and deeper into herself. This was partially my fault because of all the crap I gave her when she needed someone. It became so bad that we hardly ever spoke, except for the occasional, "How was school?" "Fine" dialogues. But then I noticed one day that my mom was somewhat brighter than usual. She was even more chatty about work. And a funny thing that happened during her lunch break. I didn't ask questions though. She was in a good mood that day and I didn't want to ruin it by asking why she was in a good mood. But then it kept happening, again and again, and one day she came home from work on a Friday evening. She announced that she was going to meet a friend and that I shouldn't wait up for her. That was when I asked her to try to tell me what was going on. She smiled sheepishly and then explained that she met someone during a night out with her friends at work, and they've been talking ever since. They'd been going on coffee dates during her lunch breaks, but that night, they agreed to go on a proper date. I was happy for her. Surprised, but mostly happy. At least she had found someone that made her happy, and
Yeah.
that was all we could hope for at the time.
Yeah.
She asked if I was going to be okay on my own, and I said, yeah, sure. I was 13 at the time, and I'd recently discovered an ancient art, so, of course, I wanted her out of the house. My mom started going on dates more frequently, and a few months later, she formally introduced me to her boyfriend, Adam. Adam was a cool guy. He worked as a digital illustrator for a startup, and he told really good jokes. He was like a breath of fresh air, and we hit it off at once. He started to come around more often, and I could tell that they were pretty serious already. One day during my summer holiday, out of the blue, he suggested that we should go for a picnic. I wasn't really into that because I felt like it was something a family should do together. If I went with them, I'll just feel like the third wheel. I brought my concerns to Adam, but he waved me off, saying it was gonna be fine and that it would be a good time for me to get to know his daughter. Hold up, what? Adam had a daughter? Why was that the first time I was hearing about that? I asked my mom and she swore that she had mentioned it to me once or twice. I didn't want to argue with her, so I shrugged it off and then agreed to go with them.
Yeah, it could be possible you did kind of forget about it because, you know, at the teenage years, some people tend to forget things. And so, like, they remember some things but forget other things. That's how the mind can be sometimes.
Each Saturday, my mom and I drove to the park where we met up with Adam and his daughter. Now, when I heard that Adam had a daughter, I had the impression that she was going to be younger than me, and if they eventually get married, I was going to be the older brother. But to my surprise, we got to the park to see him standing with a young lady who was as tall as he was. I turned to my mom, confused. I asked her who the lady was, and she told me she was Adam's daughter. Her name was Olivia, and she was going to be 17 in a few months. I had never been more shocked in my entire life. If their relationship works out, I was going to have an older stepsister. Really? I didn't like the arrangement one bit, and I told my mom that. She told me not to worry because she had met Olivia a few times and she was a lovely person. I took her at her word and we walked up to them. Adam did the introductions, but while he introduced me to Olivia, she wasn't listening. She had all of her attention on her phone.
Of course she did.
Adam had to call her repeatedly before she tore her gaze from her phone. She smiled sweetly at my mom and apologized for being on her phone. She didn't even turn to look at me till Adam did the introductions once again. She turned to look at me, then made a show of crouching low to my eye level. She ruffled my hair and said the most embarrassing thing I've ever been called. "Hey there, little fella." Little fella? What? We found a nice spot beside the lake.
Okay.
Decided to settle there. After a few minutes of jokes and laughs, Adam and my mom decided to get some corn dogs. The corn dogs were a ploy to give me and Olivia time to talk alone and get to know each other. In fact, thinking about it now, maybe that was what the whole picnic was about. But as soon as they both left, Olivia pulled out her phone and continued texting, paying no heed to me.
Yeah, that's how some girls probably were back at that age. That's probably how they were. How they are, how they can be. Not all girls can be like that, but still.
I decided to break the ice by asking her what year she was in high school. She didn't answer, along with several questions I asked after that. Just as I decided to give up, she looked up and said something like, "Hey kid, do you know how to take pictures?" Hey kid? I was 14. She was only 2 or 3 years older than me. She shouldn't talk to me like I was some toddler. I said that to her and she was like, Yeah, that's not the question I asked. Do you know how to take pictures or not?" I was taken aback by how rude she was to me.
Damn!
She was so charming when her dad and my mom were around, but to me, she was being a jerk. I wanted to say no and tell her to take her photos herself, but a part of me wanted to impress her. I knew how to take really good photos, and I felt like she might find me interesting if I showed her my skills. I collected her phone and took a few pictures. I handed the phone back to her and she scrolled through them. All she said after she glanced through was, "Wow, this is pretty neat, kid." Again with the kid? Seriously, what the heck? I shrugged that off and tried talking to her again, but she became just as unresponsive as before. The picnic ended a few hours later, and we all went to our homes. During the drive back, Mom asked me what I thought of Olivia, and because I didn't want to be the only person that found something wrong with her, I said that she was cool. I regretted that instantly.
Yeah, never, ever, never, 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 ever lie. Just speak your yeah, you may have had the best of intentions, but always feel free to voice how you feel. If even if you have this, don't overthink it. Okay, don't be like me and overthink things. You know, just see how just tell them how you feel and see what they say, and even if she's at the point of where she's like, well, da da da, it take time to get used to it and all that. Yeah, just tell her how you feel. Don't hide it.
As soon as we pulled into the driveway, Mom announced that we were moving in with Adam after the summer holidays. What? She explained that they were already very serious and they wanted to take the next step in their relationship. That the main
It was that quick?
reason they had the picnic was so I'll be acquainted with Olivia, who might become my stepsister soon. There wasn't much I could do about it, so I didn't bother to say anything. Besides, Adam was a good guy, and the only problem I had was Olivia, and she also hadn't done anything remotely wrong. She had just been behaving like I didn't exist half the time. I could live with that. During the next few weeks, Adam and Olivia started to visit more often, and I tried countless times to talk to her, but it was clear that she wanted nothing to do with me. The only time she remembers that I existed was when she needed to do chores or any other thing she'd rather not do herself. It was obvious that she didn't like or even respect me, and that hurt, because it dredged up memories of my dad that I'd worked hard to bury. What's worse? Anytime I try to refuse her, I find myself unable to because there was always this underlying thought that this time she would like and respect me. I was wrong. Another few weeks later, the summer break was over and we moved to Adams. I was starting freshman year and Olivia was in senior year, so we were attending the same school. I found out that she was pretty popular in school. She was on the cheerleading team and her TikTok page had one of the highest follower counts in the school. Like always, she completely ignored me in school, except when she needed me to do something for her. As the weeks progressed, I started to notice that her requests started to get even more absurd. One time, she asked me to accompany her to the mall to get something. Then she handed me some lipsticks she swiped from the shelf and told me to stuff them in my pants and walk out of the mall. These requests of hers were wrong, and most times sometimes disrespectful to me. But I didn't really care because I'd never been directly affected by anything she did or asked me to do. Until one day. She was having a sleepover with some of her friends in the cheerleading squad. She knocked on my room door that night and asked me to join them. I was extremely surprised that, for the first time, she wanted to hang out with me. I quickly accepted her invitation. The girls seemed nice at first, and when I got pretty comfortable, one of the girls suggested that we play a game. It was a pretty simple game. I was supposed to guess which cup contained the M&M chocolate after they shuffled all 3 cups. If I lost, I was supposed to do whatever they wanted. They didn't let me know what they would ask me to do if I lost, and I couldn't back out then. If I did, Olivia would never let me hang out with her again. I had no choice.
Is OP a boy or a girl? OP is... I think OP is supposed to be a boy. I don't know. That's the problem. They didn't even... I could go up to the beginning of the beginning of the story, and I'm pretty sure they don't even say anything. They just go right straight into let me take a quick look here. So hold on, where are we at here?
Game?
Oh, we started 23:20, so...
That said, our next story is, stepsister manipulated me into making an embarrassing bet, so I shaved off her eyebrows while she slept. Growing up, I had a huge...
They don't specify. Not even at the very beginning, they don't even specify.
From him was his approval. That was when she realized that my dad...
Yeah, they don't even specify. So 23:10, so...
I couldn't back out then. If I did, Olivia would never let me hang out with her again. I had no choice. I played the game and guessed wrong. So they decided that they wanted to practice their makeup on my face. I said sure, since it didn't sound bad. When they were done with the makeup, they took pictures and then helped me wash it off before I had the chance to look in the mirror. I thought that was the end of it until I got to school on Monday, and everyone was laughing at me.
Thanks for checking on it. Sometimes I have to double back and look at the very beginning. They usually say it at the beginning of the story. Sometimes they don't, but if I had to guess... See, the problem is, I'm not based on how they were doing some girly things, I feel like it may be a girl, but I don't want to gender profile anybody, you know?
What on earth was happening? I didn't find out until lunch break when one of the boys from my class told me to check out Olivia's TikTok page. When I did, what I saw horrified me. There I was in my pajamas, made up like a clown. She captioned it #Pennywise. What's worse, everyone in school had seen it and they were all calling me Pennywise. I had never been so humiliated in my entire life. Just when I thought Olivia had started to accept me, it turned out to be a big ruse for her to get more likes and followers.
Part of me would like to actually go on TikTok just to see if I could find this video. But at the same time, I don't want to give an asshole viewers on TikTok. I don't want to give them what they don't deserve. Viewers. View count. A higher view count, because that.
I actually cried that day, but in the end, I promised myself to stay away from Olivia. After I get back at her for what she had done, I spent the next few days coming up with a plan. The school's pep rally was coming up in a few days, and the cheerleading squad was supposed to give a big performance, with Olivia as the main star. And just like that, I knew what I was gonna do. I would make sure that she can't go to the pep rally. How? Well, simple. I was going to shave her eyebrows. I wanted to use a hair removal cream, but I didn't know how sensitive her skin was. I didn't want her to wake up while I did it, so I opted to use a shaving stick. The day before the pep rally, I said goodnight to Adam and my mom, then pretended to go to sleep. A few hours later, I crept out of my room into Olivia's, and I quickly got to work. I was only able to shave one brow because she kept squirming and I was scared she was going to catch me in the act. One shaved brow was good enough anyways. I went back to bed, only to be awoken very early in the morning by her screams. When she accused me of shaving her eyebrows, I promptly denied it. Nobody believed me, so I had to come clean. But then I showed them her TikTok page and what she did to me. We both got grounded, and as an added bonus, Adam didn't let her skip school the next Monday. Since she had humiliated me in front of the whole school, it was only fair that the same thing happened to her. The relationship between me and
I love this man named Adam because he was not playing favorites today. Yeah, his daughter, he was like, yeah, you kind of messed up, basically playing stupid to her level. But at the same time, daughter, you did this to him. You did this to OP. You're going to see what it's like to be humiliated. So, bye-bye. Exactly how a stepdad should be. Exactly. Don't be playing favorites. Always treat the kids, yours and your significant other's kids, if they have any, equally. Don't play favoritisms. That's how it should be done.
yet didn't improve, but at least she never messed with me again, and that was good enough for me. Let's be real, I think she deserved it. She was just a
Yeah, we all know she deserved it. Don't tell us. We already know. She definitely deserved it. We're not gonna do this one. We want to watch more positive vibes type of stuff. And I say that because there is a Reddit story thing. People who accidentally caused the death of someone. What happened? We're not going there. No. Absolutely not. If we're gonna go there, we're gonna be dealing with questionable things that were said by other people. We're not talking about actual acts of violence. Just that. Like, what was this here? Oh, retail workers, what's your instant karma moment? Let's hear this.
Retail/service workers, what's the best instance of karma you've seen happen to a rude customer? I work in an auto parts store. This one guy stole some $60 headlights and literally sprinted out the door. We went to look outside to try and get his license plate, just in time to see him speed off, hit a curb, and blow out his tire. Called the cops, and the dumb butt got arrested and had to have his car towed. I was really hoping you were going to look out the window and see him calmly changing them in the parking lot. Working the window.
That's actually pretty good karma on his part, man. That's a good way to get this video going. Talk about this man goes to an auto parts store and he ends up having to he steals some stuff, ends up to having to have his car damaged in the auto parts store parking lot. That's the best karma. Now he's gotta go in there. Now he's gotta go in there and pay for the damages. Now he's gotta go to a repair shop and get it fixed. which kind of defeated the whole purpose of him being at the auto parts store. Oh, that's good though. Oh, now we're going to McDonald's. Let's see, if only it had been recorded. Oh, that would have been funny.
Donald's late night. Guy orders whatever and pulls up to the window. I'm cooking and handling the window, so I wasn't there when the customer pulled up. When I walked up to the window, I didn't see the sucker with trash in his lap. I open the window to take his card/cash, and he throws a bag of trash at me. I take a step back, bothered that I just got trash thrown at me, and I watch his car speed off. I'm peed, but there's nothing I can do. A couple seconds later, I hear a small bang of metal on metal.
What?
I walk to the lobby and look out the window. The douchebag slammed into a police cruiser who's about to loop around and use the drive-thru himself. Of course, I also went to tell the officer what just happened inside.
Oh, no. Nothing. Oh, the greatest karma ever. Oh, that's so great. You think you're going to get away with, with speeding away from things like that, only to hit a cop. I take back what I said about story number 1. Number 2 is the best instant karma story right now in this video. I don't think anybody else can top it. That's the best.
At the counter of the pizza place I work at, lady storms in and slams a pizza down on the counter. "This isn't the freaking pizza I ordered. What the heck are you going to do about?" she asked. I look at the pizza, then at my buddy Nick, and turn back to her and say, "Nothing." She then goes on a long rant telling how we are going to be fired, how stupid and incompetent we were. She actually told me I must be R. Then asked,
"Oh, them's fighting words, ma'am."
Heck, we weren't going to do anything. I said, because that pizza came from the pizza shop across the street. I think she actually managed to shrink in size and slink out looking so pathetic and beaten, I almost felt bad for laughing till tears dripped down my face as she slunk off. I worked for an online bank.
I want to say it. I have a thought in my head and I want to say it, but that would be stooping to her level. And I don't stoop to levels of a Karen. Nope. Not at all. Okay, Hey, welcome back, Tyler. We're now watching an Ask Reddit post of people with instant karma. So far, the best one is a guy going to McDonald's, like a McDonald's worker, having to deal with somebody throwing trash at them, and speeding off, only for them to run into a police cruiser. Because of course that would happen to him. It's so fucking insane that still happened. Like, holy crap. Coconut can verify. No, Kyler. His username is the username that I go by, that I know him as, was originally is KylerDB. But I just say Kyler, KYL. I keep forgetting. I think it's KYLAR. But yeah, I just call him that for short because kind of like how he calls me by my real name. I call him by his real name. So yeah, I don't see anyone in this chat. Oh, I don't think he's. Wait a minute. Unless he's retracted his messages. Because I'm pretty sure I don't have him blocked on my channel. Let me see something here. Hold on, let me see something here. Yeah, he's retracted the messages, is probably why. I don't know. I don't know, but either way. I did, it was AR. Yeah, alright. Well, at least you can hear me reading what he's saying. So, yeah, so I guess I could be like the go-to guy to be like, well, I'm saying this. I don't know if he can hear if he can see what you're saying either. But yeah, but I'll be reading his comments just like I've been reading yours. Unless he retracts them. Either way.
help desk, and this 18-year-old lad phoned up saying he had seen a transaction for £7 to allpay.net. And because he didn't recognize it, he decided the bank were robbing him of £7 and that I was in on it and I was a thieving little prick. Then he gets his dad on the phone, who stuck up for his crap of a son, saying I was a pathetic scumbag for stealing £7 off an 18-year-old boy, even though it was a debit card transaction and I simply worked in the department which helped people use online banking. But anyway, I phoned our debit card services to see if they could give any more information, and boy, could they. I then had the pleasure of relaying back to this little crap's equally crappy father the following. Hi, sir. Thanks for holding. I've checked with our debit card services team, and I now understand why your son would not have recognized the payee allpay.net. That's a deliberately vague term used for discretion when the customer has subscribed to online pornography. That's what it was for. Your son has been paying for online pornography. Would you like to pop him back on the phone so I can tell him it's a payment for his pornography? Or will you pass on the information? The father just muttered that the issue did not require any further investigation, thanked me for looking into it, and hung up. Guy?
Damn! Dude got his priorities straight, though. Dude got his priorities straight, though, didn't he? Oh, that's funny, bro. Yeah, I said from the beginning of the stream that this is probably going to be 18 plus related stuff on this stream, so parental advisory warning for everybody. This is about porn. This is kind of reminded me of this one video that I watched in one of my earlier streams. Yeah, not that I watched it. Not that I watched that. Yeah, I don't watch it either. But still, bro, it's still kind of funny that this dude tried to scam somebody else, and it's only like, oh yeah, you want to know why this whole thing happened? Because you're so watching porn. Be like, okay, where's my belt? I'm gonna whoop his ass. Anyway, number 5.
And is being a complete butthole. Not wanting to show ID to buy beer, even though he looked 20 at the oldest, constantly yelling and swearing. He also had parked in the handicap spot despite not having handicap tags or plates on his car. One of my regular customers, who is a sheriff's deputy, was also in the store.
Uh-oh.
Saw how the guy was acting, saw where he was parked.
Uh-oh.
Went out, got his ticket book, and wrote the guy a ticket. Guy realized he wasn't getting his beer, went outside to find he was getting ticketed. I could not stop laughing. Worked at a...
Yep. Next time, be nice. Otherwise, you wouldn't be worried about getting a ticket. This is a PSA to anybody that's gonna that may get in trouble with the law. If you're gonna, when it comes to, if you don't want to get caught, be nice, and you won't get caught. Just be nice to the people. Otherwise, you're gonna get caught in the worst way possible, and the next thing you know, you're gonna be like, next thing you know, you're gonna be like, man, I got no beer, and I got something, but it's not what I wanted. That's what it'd be like, though, for real.
Common Canada. I am no longer an employee, thank God.
All right.
Lady comes in with a broken iPhone, is demanding to get a new one for free. If you don't know,
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. Even I know that already.
the iPhone 6S is going for about $400 up front on a 2-year contract at a minimum $80 plan. She had a good plan, but wanted it for free. She called up our loyalty team in store and spent the next 2 hours screaming at them. Finally, they agreed to a deal, and she is getting it for $0. She looks at me and goes, I do not want a case, and AppleCare is a scam. We work on commission, so this essentially meant I was getting nothing and ruining my numbers. She kept telling me to hurry up through the setup, and I was trying to get them out of the store with everything transferred over and set up. She grabs the phone and starts marching off saying I was a terrible employee. She gets 3 steps out of the store and drops the phone. shattered screen, and white screen of death. She ran back in asking what I can do. I shrug and went, sorry, but AppleCare sure would have helped, eh? Warehouse work.
Oh. That moment when you let your words just get the better of you. Next time. See, this is why you always make sure it's somewhere safe before you move. Like, where did she put, like, did she actually keep it in her hand? Like, this whole time, did she actually just keep it in her hand? Probably being just like, just messing with it somehow. And then just accidentally, whoop, drop, like, literally, just like, whoop, drops the phone. If that's actually what happened, but that was instant karma on him, though. She deserved that karma for being an asshole. Hey.
Customers have to show a card to shop, and even though we're not technically a grocery store, we don't allow pets. One dude tried to power walk past the employee at the entrance door.
I had to do something there. Hold on a second.
Customers have to show a card to shop, and even though we're not technically a grocery store, we don't allow pets. One dude tried to power walk past the employee at the entrance door holding a big pit bull puppy on a leash. We stopped him and told him he couldn't bring his dog inside, and he lost it. He's our best customer, and he's here 5 times a week, and he owns stock. Bleh.
Imagine dropping your
demanded
phone
to know
to
what.
be able to do JK. But realistically, in my life, I have may have like 7 to 14 times. Dude, this is why I have a protective case on my phone. So that way, if I do drop it, it's actually pretty safe. And this phone case that I have on it, is very durable. Like, it's showing some wear and tear on it, but it is very durable. Until the day my phone starts taking a little bit of damage, I'm sticking with this completely.
Don't allow dogs. We explain how it's a food safety issue, especially with an untrained puppy.
Right.
At this point, our manager came over and just waved him through because no backbone/customer's always right. Well, not even 5 minutes later, this dog squats in the middle.
So, but I've also have a case and screen protector. Yeah, that's what everybody should always have. I believe every single person should buy a phone and a protective screen and thing there. So nothing has happened. Yeah, that's why. If you can't buy the phone and the screen protector and case together, then buy them separately. Like, I bought the case that I use, the case and screen protector. I bought them both together I bought it from Amazon. Because that's been my go-to place for things like that. For things like this. Yeah.
The main aisle and pees, followed by poop. The man turned so red and dragged the dog toward the exit, abandoning his groceries. We stopped him and asked him nicely to please clean up after his pup.
Yeah.
That's the reason we don't allow them, sir.
At least put a temporary case before you can afford a better one. Bare phone is bad. Oh yeah, definitely. Yep. Oh, and by the way, yeah. So I hope that I just love how the owner of the last story, the dog owner, tried to run away from the store after his dog peed and pooed in the store, and so now the employees are like, yeah, no, you're gonna have to clean this up. You know, I like seeing that. Because it lets them know, yeah, we're not going to let you get away with this scot-free. That's your dog. Clean up. Clean up their poop. Clean up the pee. Clean up the poop. If you don't like it, next time, don't bring the dog in when we tell you not to bring the dog in. Like, at my workplace, we actually have a rule against pets unless they are trained service dogs. Even if they're service dogs in training, my workplace still allows them. But we still get people who have regular dogs, uh, that still pop in without the vest that says service dog on them. So yeah, we see that all the time. So yeah.
By 10 or so years ago. This happened on Black Friday. Most of the customers
Oh yeah, Black Friday. Let's see how bad this story is.
were in bad mood since they'd been waiting hours to come in and stand in more lines.
Right.
But this one lady was a raging bee. After yelling at everyone in my
What to say? A raging little brat.
apartment about how she needed the laptop that was on sale despite it being sold out, she proceeds to tell us she'll have the store closed down because she works with the city and knows the
Oh yeah, it's Black Friday today. I nearly got ran over. This is why my family and I, we don't shop on Black Friday. At least we don't go out and about and do it. This is why we're like, we're not gonna shop outside of our house. We're just gonna go on our we're gonna go on our phones or computers and shop online. Because then at least we're safe and protected in the safety of our own home. Bro, I was working that day at Best Buy. Oh, dude, I worked there at Home Depot, but it wasn't that bad. Online Cyber Monday or online Black Friday. Yeah, like they do. They might as well just make it a Cyber Weekend. Because I mean, it's going from Black Friday to Cyber Monday, so you might as well call it the Cyber Weekend sale. Seriously.
Marshall, and we have too many people in the store. So she calls him, we tell her to leave, and nothing happens to the store.
Huh.
However, we called them as well to report what she'd said, and she got fired from her job for abuse of power.
Oh. Alright. That happened. Okay.
At a restaurant that was very popular for brunch, and Mother's Day was probably our busiest day of the year. I had a customer call the evening before and ask for a table for 6, and he was incredibly rude when I informed him that this would simply be an impossibility. He kept getting more and more worked up, asking me to speak to my manager. At first, I didn't want to pass the phone over. My manager wasn't the nicest guy, and we were in the middle of a busy dinner shift. But my manager came up behind me and demanded to know why I had been on the phone for so long. I was like, frick it, this customer isn't going to listen to me anyways, and gave the phone to Mac.
Oh.
Mac asked how he could help, listened for about 15 seconds before telling this dude something like, so you're tying up my hostess in the middle of dinner even though she's already told you nicely that we can't fit you and your goddamn family on the night before our busiest day of the year? Frick you, buddy. And hung up the phone. I'm not sure if being a public defender counts.
Damn. This dude had no chill, bro. No chill whatsoever. Wow. Damn. Our such no chill in this house, man. Damn. Oh, shit. Had absolutely no chill. Damn, that's tied up there with the second story of the video.
A retail or service worker, but considering that I provide criminal defense to indignant clients facing deprivation of their rights and freedom, I'll consider it service nonetheless. I was representing a scumbag client who was a massive M-head who got high and beat the heck out of her 8-year-old daughter with a belt after she accidentally broke mommy's M-pipe. She was charged with child cruelty and possession of M, and given her criminal record, the DA's plea offer was 3 years of prison. Needless to say, my client didn't want to go to prison for giving that C what she deserved.
She did not actually say that. She did not actually say that. No. No way. She did not actually call her that. No. She actually did not. She did not. No. You really called your own child that? Really? She better had the most craziest instant karma. Because, dude, why would you call your child the C word? In case anybody's wondering, it's a 4-letter C word. That, of course, has to be bleeped. If you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, don't ask.
Started freaking out at me when I told her that's the best offer I was going to get from the DA, and it was either accept that offer or go to trial. I further pointed out the mountain of evidence against her, primarily the photographs of her daughter's injuries, the bloody belt that was recovered from her bedroom, the broken M pipe with M residue in it, and the fact that her daughter was going to testify against her at trial. After she was done cursing me out, calling me a public pretender, and every other derogatory name she could think of, she fired me and somehow managed to hire a private attorney for the low price of $8,000. I still don't know how she managed to come up with that, but I have plenty of reliable guesses. The private attorney guaranteed her that he could win her case at trial, and that's exactly what she chose to do. Long story short, the private attorney clearly never even read this woman's file before trial. The trial lasted roughly 3 hours, the jury was literally out for only 5 minutes, and the judge sentenced her to 10 years of prison. It was a good day. More than a...
That moment when you think you know better than the DA. That moment when you know better than your defense, when you think you know more than your defense attorney, and so you try to go for somebody else, and that somebody else is like, yeah, I'm not even going to read the report. I'm just going to help you get out of this situation. And then it's like, now she wishes she was stuck with the original attorney and got 3 years behind bars. Because 3 years behind bars is a hell of a lot better than 10 years. But hey, she deserved it. Especially when she called her very own child something that no child should be called. Ever. Next story.
Decades ago, I worked at Denny's. I had 2
Hey.
male customers that decided
I
to
never been to
dine and
Denny's.
dash. Got their license plate number and reported it to the cops and jokingly mentioned that they didn't even tip. Later that night, they got pulled over for DUI. Cops recognized license plate number from the report, brought them both back to the restaurant, and forced them to pay the bill.
Ah!
After he was done paying, the cop just stood there and looked at them and said, "Well?" The guy sheepishly handed me my tip.
I love how the cop was all like, yeah, good on you. You pay for it. But, there's something missing here. I can't quite put my finger on it, but you're missing something here. And then the dude be like, fuck. Here, there's the tip. God damn it. Next time, people, don't dine and dash. Just pay for the damn bill and just be done. Don't try to get out of paying for a meal. It's your own fault if the meal is too expensive for you. It's your own fault, nobody else's. Next time, don't dine and dash, and don't go for the more expensive stuff when you go to a restaurant. Just no, just stop.
I used to return customer credit cards by setting them on the square podium used to swipe them so they could end up right by them when I swung the screen around for them to sign and such. One lunch rush takeout restaurant, one lady decided this was an offense of the highest order and yelled at me for not placing it directly in her hand. I stupidly engaged her and tried...
I saw a wholesome moment. There was this time when I was out when the girl was tipping, when it's tipped between... Wait, what? Hold on a second. I saw a wholesome moment. There was a time when I was out when a girl was tipped $500 to $1,000 and she was... Wow! That is insane! I mean, I can't really say... I mean, I can kind of feel like that because I did kind of donate $500 to a friend of mine one time. And this was this was last year, if not the year before. And then, it was last year. I got yelled at for it, but I still have no regrets for doing what I did. And then to top it all off, I upgraded to the highest tier that she had, which was a $50 thing there. Dude, I definitely made her night with a few other people helping me along with it. By doing their own fair share of donations. It was crazy. I still have no regrets doing what I did. I still have no regrets.
Explained that I did that for everybody, which got me a continued lecture about how she is the customer and good service is doing what she wants and so on.
The customer is not always right. Sorry, I had to say that.
About a dozen people eating at our tables and 5 people in the line behind her, so she was straight hamming it up, making sure everyone saw her putting me in my place. Unfortunately for her, the dramatic performance proved to be a little too distracting and she stormed out without her infant.
What?
This was, of course, noticed by pretty much everyone in the building since she had just made herself the center of attention. One of the customers even had to run after her and stop her from driving away. For the record, there is no real subtle way to pick up a full-size child carrier. Please like and subscribe if you made it this far.
How do you... Were you really hoping to be that center of attention that you actually forgot your child? Damn. You must be that self-centered. Damn.
Hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Lady lays into me for the amount of the bill, called me every bad word in the English language, says we overbilled her. She requested I go through her order. Come to find out, we underbilled her by $1,000 due to a misplaced zero. The silence on the other line was so beautiful.
That moment when you might as well... You know what? Okay. Everybody's gonna be... If I've ever made it somewhere financially, I'd love to do that for people. I don't want to thank you or anything, but just to help those in need, and that for sure is deserved. Yeah, I agree. Yep. I wholeheartedly agree with that. But when it comes to this moment, about the woman who was underpaid $1,000 because there was an extra zero that was forgotten there. Okay, does anybody remember that one episode of SpongeBob SquarePants where Mr. Krabs was trying to date Mrs. Puff? There's that scene in the middle of the episode where he was given, I think it was like a $100 or a $1,000 bill, and so he's like, "Wait, what? This can't. Hey, what's the meaning of this? This can't possibly be right." "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Thank you for clearing that up. Here's your bill." And then Mr. Krabs was like, "Yeah, that's right." So he opens his eyes to look at the bill. He's like, "What?" Like his eyes just got so big, and he's like, "No!" And then they go to the next scene about you know, it's just how he goes to the next scene and SpongeBob's like, "I don't get it. How could you spend $10,000 in one night?" And I'm like, dude. Yeah, that's the funniest moment for me personally. I absolutely enjoyed that. That is what that last story reminded me of because of the amount difference. That's what made me think of that scene. Okay, story 14.
Gas station some odd years ago, and the week before it had been snowing a lot, so the gas tankers got delayed due to safety reasons. A customer came in a pretty new Mercedes-Benz, something like SLS 400 or something, and wanted the premium gas. I explained to him that the tankers are delayed, and we currently don't have any premium gasoline, and that he could try the next station down the block. He started swearing at me personally like I had control over the gas delivery.
You know, is it bad that I'm actually thinking about the usual political belief that the president controls gas prices, just like how people think that gas stations control, the gas deliveries being delivered and all that jazz. When in reality, it's all about the people carrying the gas to get there. You know, that's what instantly came to my head. I don't mean to bring politics into this in regard to the president, but I'm just saying that was the first thought in my head.
Off tires screeching only to have his rear tire hit the curb. His rim got fricked up really bad and couldn't drive it. I laughed at him.
If only he was a calm and collected customer, he wouldn't have to worry about this tire being, hitting that curb, causing his tire to go bad, and then getting the employee to laugh at him because the dude's like that. Fricked up LMFAO. Well, I mean, you gotta keep YouTube kid friendly, unless you're like me, in which case I sometimes do keep it kid friendly, but other times I'm like, yeah, how about no? I'm just gonna cuss a little bit here and there.
It wasn't the customer, it was the manager. She was awful. She was rude, intentionally picked out favorites and gave them presents in front of everyone, even when they didn't like her and tried to avoid it. Messed up schedules on purpose for people she didn't like, etc., etc. Worst manager ever. So there was a huge storm coming in and people were really worried about it. Like the news telling people to stay home, other businesses closing, etc. So it was up to her to either keep our store open or close it. Of course, she kept it open.
Yep.
Because schools closed, only half our...
I mean, they could have messed up instead of a dead giveaway. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
employees showed up. The rest called in, and she called her favorites and told them they didn't have to come in. Well, as the 5 of us who showed up were standing there watching out the front windows, there were 0 customers. She starts yelling.
Need a haircut in the office, LMFAO, you know what I mean. Oh, okay.
Threatening to write us all up, etc. And we are like, no one is here. All the work is done, and we are watching the wind bend trees over and worried about if we are safe / will be able to get home. Right about this time, we hear a super loud crashing noise. Ka-chunk, 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 wham!
Hey!
As the industrial air conditioner on top of the building got blown off.
Oh.
Like it rolled along the roof, then went flying into the parking lot, right onto her car.
Oh!
It was so perfect. It was surreal.
Wow!
Dead center, smashed her car flat.
Oh!
Like if she had been in it, she would have died. And it only happened because she parked right up by the building, where we had specifically been told not to park. All our cars were out in the farthest corner of the lot. We later found out her car wasn't paid off. It was some stupidly expensive BMW or something, and her insurance didn't cover the damage because it was an act of God. As a teenager,
Wow. Okay. Oh, what do I have to say about that? Good question. How perfect did that have to be for that to actually happen? How perfect that was for that to happen. Oh my God. Jeez. The fact that it happened to her car too, and nobody else's car got affected by it. That makes it even better.
working part-time at a convenience store. I was being trained by the late-night cashier. This dude comes in and grabs a bunch of cans of vegetables and such, and comes to the counter and stacks the cans in a very specific way, like a weird kind of pyramid on the counter. As the experienced cashier, my trainer, takes each can off the pyramid and rings it up, she reaches the end of the stack, and we realize that the weirdo has his dong out and has it laying on the counter behind the cans. Without saying a word, the trainer grabs one of the big, heavy metal cans of beans and slams it down as hard as she can on the guy's dong. He screamed an incredible scream of searing pain, grabbed his dong, and ran out of the store. She, to me, calmly, you get all kinds on the late shift. Way back when I used to be...
What? Oh, God. Oh, my God. The fact that I even screamed at that very moment where he was like, and he just screamed at the top of his lungs, and I'm just like, ah! Oh, no. And the fact that she was even used to it. A bit too excessive. I mean, dude. To be fair, the guy had it coming, man. Like, dude, the guy had it coming, bro. Like, it may have been a bit excessive, but hey, it'll teach him not to. It'll teach him how to get his dog out in the middle of nowhere. Like, literally in the middle of in the middle of all these metal cans. Sometimes you have to learn the lesson the hard way, bro. I'm just saying. Oh, damn. That's funny.
Retail slave, I worked in an electronics retailer, still in business. We had some guys going around trying to lift DVDs. They were cutting the barcodes off to remove the sensors so they wouldn't go off on their way out. LP notices and starts sending over floor reps to see how they are doing, if they need help, etc. Finally, LP goes over and just hands them a handbasket because they had nothing in their hands. It was showing them we knew. So they start wandering around ditching the DVDs as soon as they go, and as soon as they drop one, an employee comes up and grabs it. So they start freaking out. They dump the rest and just book it towards the door full speed. No one chased because they ditched all the merchandise. As they exit, one of the dudes turns around and starts flipping everyone off, yelling, "Frick, store name." As he's doing this, he steps off the curb into the front driveway in the parking lot and promptly gets hit by a car. It was in the lot, so it was only hard enough to knock him over, but he had to scramble to his feet and keep running. Let me preface my story by saying I work Baltimore.
Okay, then. Okay, then. Like, at least he didn't, go flying. But still, the fact that he just got hit by a car as he's like, "Fuck this!" and he just gets hit by a car, hard enough for him to just, shit. Where'd it go? Okay, I see it here. Hold on. Oh crap! I gotta move this freaking. My thing's telling me, "Hey, you rested your legs on this thing long enough." I gotta move this out of the way now. Hold on. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay, there we go. I got it. I just accidentally. It just somehow did that. Reminds me of when Homer in the Simpsons movie jumps into the sandbox, flipping everyone off and gets stuck. Oh yeah, probably. Hold on a second, I'm trying to move my thing up again. Hold on a second here. There we go. We got it. There you go, we got it. Oops. Trying not to cause a mess. Okay, but we got it. Yeah. But yeah, that's what happens. That was instant karma because he said this place when you try to steal from it. And then the car in front of you is like, "Yeah, next time don't steal!"
Yeah. So, I manage a plus-size women's clothing store. We actually get a surprising amount of...
A plus-size woman's store. I can't help but think of the show Married with Children. The character Al Bundy works at he's a shoe salesman. And the whole running gag, one of the running gags of the show is that this man will poke fun at all the plus-size women that go into the store. I could probably give a few examples, but I'm not gonna get canceled because here's the thing, dude, nowadays you can get canceled for just about anything and everything nowadays. So I try to be careful with what I say and what I do, or how I say something, because I don't want, because then people might take what I'm saying out of context or clip it and post it on the internet and try to paint what I'm saying in a different light than what was originally said in the context. You know, so I try to be careful. But yeah, if you want to know more about this, all you have to do is go on YouTube, which you're on now if you're watching this, and and go on the search bar and look up Married with Children, Al Bundy, and shoe store. And there will be some videos of Al Bundy. I could actually just look a video up right now after this video because it's almost over. And, you know, just a real quick break from Reddit stories. And just, I could just do that right now and you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about here.
Let's call them non-traditional customers. Guys who need a dress for a charity show, cross-dressers, gender-fluid people, transgender women, and drag queens aren't unheard of.
We're not gonna talk about the whole drag show as bullcrap because honestly, that kind of thing has already been involved in political bullcrap and we're not gonna talk about it. Just saying.
Drag queen comes into the store to pick up some shoes they ordered online. They must have been either coming from or going to a show because they were still in full makeup. I get their name, and during our conversation, another customer walks in. I call out a greeting and say something like, "I'll be right with you." I go to the back room, and it takes a minute to go through all the web orders. I find the one I need, and I'm on my way back to the counter when the new customer throws her arms out to stop me from passing. She then says, "I am a new customer, and I've been here for 20 minutes, and no one has spoken to me." A, I greeted her when she came in, and B, she had only been in the store for 5 minutes at that point. I resigned myself to groveling, but before I could say anything, the drag queen stomps over, glares at the customer, and says, "B, she said hello to you," complete with sassy finger snaps. The queen then made a big show of thanking me for getting her package and gave me a sparkly kiss on the cheek before she left.
Aww.
The other customer sheepishly paid for her Spanx and didn't make eye contact when I told her to have a good day. I work at a hotel's...
I mean, hey, you got a kiss on the cheek out of that, so just take it. But seriously, I love how Ivan was like, she said hello to you. Get out of here. Hey, you got a kiss on the cheek for it. I don't care what kind of person that was. Got a kiss on the cheek, take it. I'm just saying.
Desk. One day we had an Armenian guest who was claiming his room was not up to his standards and decided to make a big deal about it the next morning. He was so rude to the point of almost making a coworker cry of desperation because she refused to compensate the night as his arguments seemed really fake and invalid. Once he saw he was not going to get nothing back, he threw his receipt on the floor and power walked his way out into a very clean glass door that was recently cleaned. His sunglasses broke.
Oh, I actually have seen his work. I've actually seen that guy. You said if you want a good channel with scary animations, look up Bubba Arts. They read stories out loud, complete with it. I know of that channel. I love their work. It's been a while since I last watched them, but I love their work. They are pretty good with their animations. Even though it's pretty much like Family Guy style animation, it's still really good.
Cut on the upper part of his nose. My coworker and I couldn't stop laughing the second he walked out, even more mad. Please leave your story in the comment.
Alright. So, I want to go ahead and do what I said I was going to do. So, I'm looking up. Oh, hold on a second. I accidentally, yeah, we're not looking up all your base are belong to us. All your base are belong to us. Anyway. Yeah, Al Bundy insults. Here we go, right here. There's a video here. Let me just play a little bit of this here for you. So you guys cannot blame me.
Whoa, Bundy!
Remember me, Bundy?
No.
The one you insulted?
I'm sorry, ma'am. You'll have to be a little more specific.
You made fun of my weight. You called me a giant seal?
Well, let's see. I had 4 elephants. I had a rhino who wanted some flip-flops. Had a manatee. Don't remember any seals. You jog my memory. You know what jog is. That's what you do when the ice cream truck is pulling out.
With this attitude.
Now do you see what I mean with that? When it came to that one store, that's what I was talking about. If this show was ever made today, it would not have lasted a whole season. But because it was from the because it was from the 1980s and people took jokes, it kind of got a little bit of heat even back then. But I'm pretty sure nowadays, show would not have lasted of a month, if that, because of how it was made, so that's why I'm like, yeah, I want to show it off a little bit. So that's why I only showed like one little joke of it, just to prove my point about it. But yeah. Well, what time is it anyway? Hold on, let me see. Oh my god, it's already 1 o'clock. Jeez. So, I'll probably just watch one more video, and then we'll end the stream here. So let's see what Reddit stories are on my recommender. We have when people met their high school bully as an adult. What's your story? We have an entitled parents crazy Karen got kicked out from
Today we got a story
from 5 stars something. What else do we have? We have. Oh, yeah, we're not doing that one. Not at all. What else? When have you seen a spoiled brat get? Oh, you know what? I want to hear about this.
When have you seen the real world?
So yeah, we're gonna watch this, and this will be the end of the stream.
When have you seen the real world hit a spoiled brat? Story 1.
Hold on. Sorry, family member just came in. Wanted to talk to me about something, so I figured I'd mute so you didn't have to hear about it. Anyway, let's take a listen to these stories of spoiled brats getting on, because everybody likes hearing a good story of spoiled brats getting their butts kicked. Right? Everybody likes to hear these stories. Because I sure do.
High school, there was this horribly bratty rich kid who loved to pick on others, push people around, and play the "do you know who my dad is" card a lot. Let's call him Todd. I hated this kid all through school. Final year of high school, I'd had a bad day one day, and it obviously showed. Todd sees me walking in the hall and makes some snide remark about my shirt. I promptly tell him to shove it, as I am not in the mood. He walks over to me while I am at my locker and slams my locker door and shoves me. I recall that he said something else, but I honestly don't remember what it was. I just remember that I saw red and drove my fist into his nose like a truck. I stomped away all teenage and angsty. Got called to the office the next day. Todd is sitting there with his father and the principal. I knew I was fricked. The principal shows us all the security camera footage of what went down. I'm assuming an expulsion is coming my way when Todd's father puts his hand on my shoulder and smiles. He tells Todd to say thank you, and we both look at him dumbfounded.
What?
Why would I thank him? He broke my nose, says Todd. His father responds with, because if I had been there and seen you act like that, I'd have killed you.
Oh!
He stood up and left, and I was excused to return to class. Todd never bothered me again.
Damn! Dad had no chill!
Freak you, Todd. You know, the dad might come across as not the bad guy in this story, but how do you think Todd ended up the way he did? Sorry, Dad, but if you want to be mad at someone for Todd's behavior, might I suggest you look at who raised him? Story 2.
You know, that is a good point. I mean, I mean that is a good point because that's the one thing I always love. Like with shows like Beyond Scared Straight, how the parents are, how the parents like talk about their children. But the one thing, like you see shows like Beyond Scared Straight, Super Nanny, well, mainly Super Nanny. And some other shows in between that involve uh kids, right? The parents always say something, and then it's like, well, who's raising the kids? Obviously, it can't be the parents because they're not, because the kids don't seem to listen to them. So who's raising them? That's the thing. That's the thing.
Went on a double date with my boyfriend, his friend, and his friend's date. The whole evening, she was rude, snobby, and overall a demanding person that felt entitled to whatever she wanted. She was rude to the waitstaff and suggested we tip them nothing for refusing to refund her order after she ate the whole thing and complained about everything. On the car ride back, she starts to driving, then halfway through the drive announced she didn't want to drive anymore. The rest of us had been drinking, so we all refused to take over. She said, "Fine, but I'm not driving either." Let go of the steering wheel and slammed on the brakes. We got rear-ended, and it was her car, so no cost to the rest of us, but it was instant karma for her behavior and attitude.
I don't think I need to explain the stupidity of the person in this story. Like, to say, well, if the other friends have been drinking and you're really not wanting to do that, like, seriously? And that's another instant karma story, because I mean, like, dude, you crashed into your own vehicle? Like, really? This is why you always ride in one vehicle and that you don't bring multiple vehicles with friends. Like, you friends just meet up somewhere and there you go. That's all you do.
Story 3. When the high school principal's daughter, who previously got away with all kinds of garbage behavior, vandalism, drinking, major bullying, got caught vandalizing a lecture hall in uni, she was unceremoniously dumped and banned. Parents whined for months on Facebook about their poor baby's unfair treatment and the fact that her applications to other unis were being denied. Story 4.
I wonder why. Somebody help me out here, because I can't put my finger on it. Oh well, next story.
Oh, goody. I remembered this earlier today and was hoping I'd be able to share. Not sure if this really qualifies, but it's a good one.
Alright, let's see.
So, this gem isn't about a child. This was a full-grown woman, maybe mid-30s, who very clearly was handed everything in life. Spoiled, selfish, entitled, whatever you want to call it, way out of touch with reality. So, I grew up in a very nice upper-middle-class area with nothing but houses for miles around. At the center is a small block with a little grocery store, a few boutiques, restaurants, and a drugstore. It being the only shopping center anywhere around tends to attract really snobby people. Anyway, I was maybe 14 or 15 and went to the drugstore to grab something or other and happened to wander past the makeup aisle. This drugstore is pretty large, so their makeup selection is huge, with every brand you can think of taking up one whole wall of the building. I just rounded the corner where I saw this woman sitting on the ground just as I saw the manager coming around the opposite corner making a beeline for her like a bulldog. He stops, arms crossed, and the following happens. Him. "Ma'am, I hope you know that you have to pay for those." Her. "What?" Him. "The makeup. All of these packages you've opened, you have to pay for them." He gestured about towards where I was standing, still at the end of the aisle. I looked down to my right and saw what he was pointing at, the pressed powder compacts. She'd opened one of each shade ranging from ivory to warm beige and left the remains in piles at the bottom of each display. That's right, I said each. She went through every single brand and opened the package compacts. And to make it worse, each brand usually makes more than one type of pressed powder. There had to be at least 40 of them. Her, agitated, "What do you mean? I don't understand. Why do I have to pay for them when I only need one?" Him, having a stroke, "Because you've destroyed them and because you've used them. We can no longer sell these to anyone else because they've been contaminated by you." Her becoming irate, well, I needed to test them to match my skin tone. It was at this point I realized that next to all the compacts were the used makeup sponges that come with them, as well as what appeared to be used baby wipes. Him impending aneurysm. Well, I hope it was worth all the money you now owe us. This was about 15 years ago, so the remainder of the conversation is fuzzy. I know she was panic crying and was refusing to pay, and he threatened to pay the cops. But I had to leave at that point, so I didn't get to see the outcome. But I do know that I did a little math when I got home. Nowadays, one of those compacts will cost about $10 each. But back then, I'd say $5 to $6. So she had to pay at least $240 at the end of that. Higher-end makeup stores do have testers, but even then, they're labeled as such. I will never understand people who think they can just open and mess up products before they buy them. Sure, some products let you get an idea, but makeup? I'm pretty sure if you asked that woman if she would want to buy makeup used by some stranger, chances are she would be insulted.
Yeah.
Story 5. Yep. I used to repair trails for the Forest Service, and I wouldn't call anybody a brat necessarily.
See, I don't need to say anything because everything he said is pretty much the truth.
But we're all pretty spoiled when it comes to manual labor and sleeping on the ground. On day 1, the bush plane flies the crew out to a grass airstrip about 40 miles east of town. Then you shoulder your pack, grab an axe and a shovel, and start hiking up the canyon. Usually in the rain. Until you watch that plane disappear over the ridge, it's hard to imagine what you've signed up for. Hard labor all day, every day. Working, cooking, and camping in the rain that whole first month. No phone, no mail, no roof, and if you forgot something, you'll just have to live without it until the road opens in July. Wolves and mountain lions circle the camp at night. Sometimes bears come for your food. Everybody struggles for the first month. You'd see the kid who'd been the hard guy in his high school football team start to sit through a lunch with his head in his hands just licked. Guys who were in the 1,000-pound club at their gym slumped up against a tree all evening eating peanut butter for dinner because they were too beat to cook. Demanding as the job was, it wasn't really a physical issue. The best workers on the crew were hippie Jesus types with noodle arms who read Marcus Aurelius around the campfire at night. They just took everything as it came because no matter what, it just kept coming. Them and the Mormon ranch kids. I don't know how those kids came up, but nothing brought them down. Story 6.
Wow. I don't know how they came up, but nothing brought them down. That's funny. Wow. That's funny.
It owns a bar, and one night there was this rich kid and his friends. Boat shoes, without socks, the whole thing. He was giving one of the bartenders a tough time because he was on the shorter side. This kid was bothering the bartender for about half an hour until finally he got my dad to come out. My dad basically yelled at the kid about how the bartender enlisted in the military and fought in Afghanistan and how ashamed he should be to make fun of an honest, hard-working veteran for his height.
He's gonna say something very disrespectful in me.
Kid left the bar nearly crying, and I hope that experience helped him change for the better.
Wow.
Stories.
Not what I thought was gonna happen, but hey, at least he learned his lesson. Hopefully. Because, dude, you know, that's the thing about my workplace. We actually do have military discounts for people who serve, who serve or have served in the military. But we do have to, but we make it a rule that in order for you to get the discount, you have to show us your ID. Considering how some people are really fucking selfish enough to pretend to be a part of the military. Like, it's really stupid that people do that. It's really sad that they are literal attention whores for doing that. To me, people who try to show stolen valor, they are the real attention whores. No filter. They are literal attention whores.
I was out at a farm with my cousins for a party. It was more like an afternoon barbecue with all the parents sat talking and cooking while the kids ran around playing. Usual lazy afternoon in Africa. So anyways, I was 16 at the time, making me the oldest of the kids, and I will admit that I was all back on the bus / too cool for school type of cringy teenager, and was practicing my casual aloofness. Now, there was this German couple that were this absolute monster child, 5, who made it his mission to terrorize all the other kids. The parents of little Adolf sat beaming with delight watching their little ray of sunshine.
If you're gonna spell Adolf in a way, you gotta spell it. Okay, never mind.
Playing with the other kids. Eventually, it became apparent that they were going to do nothing about it, and my parents told me to keep my cool and just ignore him. Which I did because I didn't want to put my parents in an awkward situation. At some point in the afternoon, the kid found one of those plastic toddler toys. You know, the ones where they can sit on it and push themselves around, but it also has a handle at the back that toddlers can use as a walker. So he finds this toy and is running around this lawn full speed, ramming all the other kids. Now, I did tell him nicely that it was not good to hurt the other little boys and girls, but he clean ignored me and carried on with his game, giggling and chasing the other kids. He also decided that I was now fair game, and I got rammed in the ankles and Achilles tendon a few times, and I'm fuming. His parents were watching and laughing the whole time. Eventually, I'm done with this crap, so I positioned myself in front of this small ditch, only about a 1/4 inch deep and full of grass, and pull out my phone pretending to read messages. I was making myself an easy target for the little brat. He comes charging up behind me, aiming for my heels again. The front wheels go into the little ditch, stopping the walker. The kid was pushing it so fast that his momentum carried him right over the handlebars, right over the push toy, and past me, face plants in the dirt, going full scorpion. There was no blood, but he lay there and screamed blue murder. The best part was that the parents watched the whole thing take place, and they and the other parents never suspected that I stood in that exact spot for that exact reason. His parents were kind of peeved that the kid hurt himself while I was watching the kids, but they couldn't say anything, so they just kept the boy close the rest of the day.
Yeah, because let it be known, if they were to have said anything, then they would have outed themselves as the parents of this boy who was terrorizing all the little kids, and that would give them that would make them the center of attention, not in the good way. And all the parents would be like, well, all the parents would criticize them for what their child was doing while they were watching and while they were sitting down watching and laughing at it happening in front of them. So yeah, they really couldn't have said anything. That's not even a joke. They really couldn't have.
Saving the day for the other nice kids did make you a cool teen, LOL. I knew a guy with 2 kids like this who I was going to run a comic shop with, long story. And one day he says, hey, I'm going to go shopping, watch the boys for a few hours. They were currently running around the store screaming. I told him very calmly, I'm not watching your kids, Roy. That's just for a few hours. You can leave them here, but if they run out that door, I won't be following them. Your choice. Story 8. One of my favorite things about the military is that in a uniform, nobody can tell how privileged or unprivileged you might have been. It's a total blank slate, and for many, it's humbling to not get to / have to wear your social status on your sleeve. On my second shift, there was an E2 who grew up very wealthy and was a butt about it. He wasn't afraid to let us know. He thought that he was better than his peers. There's a stereotype of the enlisted guy who thinks of himself as an officer as a way to pretend that means anything. That's this guy in every way, and he would try to get out of crap enlisted work because he was going to be an officer, probably even a commanding officer on a ship. So there we were, a few hours into his first deployment, and this mother effer gets violently seasick. It lasted for days. I don't know if you've ever been around someone who can't open their eyes without yakking, but it's awful. You really feel bad for them. It's hard to watch someone go through. Not with this guy. Story 9. In high school, one guy was a...
Next time, do what you're supposed to, and don't try to cut corners.
jerk to everyone. He had no sense of anyone but himself, and everyone kissed his butt because he was not only valedictorian of his class, but also star football, basketball, tennis, and track star. He was top dog for all the extracurriculars as well. He made my best friend cry multiple times just by being a butt towards her, and she had the unfortunate luck of being in his grade. He was also known as a player, just dating who he felt was hot enough for him, but would also put out for him.
Mother water? I thought this was child. Yeah, mother effer. That's what he said. Technically, it is child friendly because we don't know what the F word is.
He thought that nothing bad could ever happen to him.
I mean, we adults know what the F word is, but children probably know too. But you still got to be kid friendly because YouTube.
He was just that special. He graduated high school and went to his school of choice and immediately came out as gay on social media. Not too long after that, he got his first boyfriend. Before the semester was even finished, his boyfriend cheated on him and he flunked out of his college and ended up having to go to another school. Last time I saw him, he was super polite and seemed to be rather humbled by his experience outside of our tiny town. That is quite the story arc, but it makes you wonder how he justified his behavior in high school to himself while being secretly gay. Speaking on that last comment, you are still really figuring things about yourself out in high school. And if that high school or town isn't super accepting of non-traditional preferences, you can end up convincing yourself you're straight, even if you aren't. Took me until I was 26 to accept myself, so I'll at least give this guy that. Story 10. Simple and pure example for my part. There was only one coffee shop on my campus operating out of the library building, and it was always crowded. You pretty quickly learned that if you wanted coffee before class, you got there 20 minutes early, grabbed a newspaper, I'm old, sue me, and took your time. It was always funny watching incoming freshmen crowd the line 5 minutes before their 8 a.m. and slowly filter out in despair as they realized there was absolutely no way they were reaching that sweet Sumatra nirvana in time. Cue this little freshman girl, dressed in the classic campus t-shirt, jean shorts, blonde ponytail, coming out the ball cap, starter pack, walking up, assessing the line, stretching out the door, and boldly deciding to just sorta skip it. Now, the baristas were usually pretty cool with people skipping for simple things, dropping down a quarter for some Scantrons or $1 for a cookie, anything that didn't require interaction. Not this girl. She got the barista's attention while the previous customer was still paying and went, "Hi, yeah, can I get a latte, please, like, really quickly?" The line starts back there," replied the now slightly confused girl behind the counter. "But I have class," whined the freshman. There was an awkward pause before the barista responded, "You are on a college campus. Are you freaking serious? Why do you think all these people are here? Back of the line." Oh, was the only thing the freshman girl thought to say. As she turned to look at...
I mean, at least she didn't come up with some other bullshit excuse, right?
Line full of people staring daggers back at her, she looked not upset or embarrassed, but sort of enraptured by this newfound understanding she's just been imparted. It's like for the first time in her entire life she realized that other people were in her way for reasons. It was actually kind of beautiful to watch, like a baby deer learning to walk for the first time. Better late than never.
That's a very interesting comparison, actually. Alright.
Oh, they aren't just extras in the story of my life? Story 11. When my brother was in school, he was horrifically bullied for being autistic. And his bully was the most entitled little crap I've ever had the displeasure of meeting. His father paid for boxing practice, karate lessons, and other martial arts. This made him think that he was the best at anything physical. My brother isn't overly fond of sports and prefers to read in the library. As the typical nerdy kid, he's a prime target for bullies. One day, when the bully had cornered my brother up against a wall, my brother finally decided that he wasn't just going to take it anymore. But he strongly dislikes violence and thus would not be fighting back. Instead, when the bully tried to punch him, my brother ducked. 3 broken fingers and a trip to the hospital later, the bully's father finds out what had been happening. All his extra classes / training were canceled. He had all of his electronics and games sold, and if he wanted to have a car, he would have to work for every penny himself. This story makes me so happy for some reason. Your brother's an absolute legend. Hope that bully bettered himself, or fell down an open sewer grate. Either way is fine by me. Please like and...
I just thought how he was very specific about the bad option. Like, this dude was like, I hope he actually bettered himself or he fell down a sewer grate. Either way, it works for me. Damn. Like, yeah, fell down a sewer grate and somehow found Pennywise while he was down there. Jeez.
Subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 12. Too long didn't read. Professor fails spoiled son. Back in engineering school, one of my classmates was the son of one of our professors. Now, this professor was a really nice dude. He paid attention to his students, his classes were fun, and he rarely failed anyone. His son, on the other hand, was a total butthead. Rude and nasty, and would always brag about how his dad was a highly senior professor with tenure. You know who my dad is, right? Was literally his catchphrase. He wasn't even a good student. We ranked GPAs out of 10, and he was a 4. This professor actually taught a very specialized course, so we only had about 2 courses from him in our entire time at the school. This course in our 5th semester was a bit complicated. If you didn't do regular study, it was easy to fail, but if you practiced the stuff, passing it was a breeze. So finals come around and Butthead is out there bragging that he didn't need to study because his dad will pass him anyway. He took this confidence all the way to the exam hall. And then the results were out. He had scored 7 out of 100.
Oh.
We know because the professor called us all to the classroom and displayed his answer sheet on the projector. According to him, he was the 3rd student who had failed in his 20-year teaching career, and he couldn't be more disappointed that it was his son. The amount of verbal butt-whooping Butthead received was enough to have him quivering like a wet cat in front of everyone. The next time he pulled the "Do you know my dad" card, the standard answer he received was, "The one who failed you?" He stopped pretty soon after that. He retook the exam the following year, failed again, and had to drop out. Wherever he is today, I hope he learned his lesson. Wherever he is today, I hope he learned his lesson. Some say he's out there, failing till this very day. I know the kid is old enough that he's responsible for himself, but Dad, are you really going to publicly shame your son? I said it before, but parents, if your kid turns out bad, you might have something to do with it. Story 13. A kid in college...
Yeah, as if we already haven't figured that out before.
Was a roommate of a friend of mine. He was always bratty and spoiled, but hung out with us as he was a good friend, and we let him chill with us because sometimes he wasn't bad. Then one day we heard him arguing with his mom on the phone that he needed more money. From the ensuing argument, we learned that he had, in less than 1 year, burned through 30 grand that his parents gave him for food and discretionary spending.
Oh my God.
Mind you, he was not paying for tuition or lodging or his car with his money. It was basically just food money, and all those other things were also already covered by his parents. He was calling his mother some really nasty things and hung up on her. Then his father called in, they got in an argument, cussing each other out. At the end of that call, he threw his iPhone at the wall and shattered it. This was the original iPhone. Turns out they cut him off, and basically he had to drop out of school and drive back home out of state because he couldn't afford to do anything anymore. And of course was too good to work at Pleb's job. He added me on Facebook about a year later and was a late-blooming 9/11 truther. Obama was president by this time. And the only thing I ever said to him on Facebook was a simple reply correcting one fact he was wrong about in his 9/11 conspiracy theory. He then posted like 4 replies in quick succession telling me to open my eyes and then blocked me. Open your eyes. Story 14.
You know what's really funny to me? I have been involved in a few political debates with people that ended up being arguments with them. And they all pretty much tell me one of 2 things. Either do your research, or, as one put it, they're telling you what you want to hear. Oh, if only that were the case. Yeah. I could use the same arguments against them. I really could.
Spending $50 on food a day is not normal.
Or they hurl insults at me. They either try to tell me something that pretty much tells me that I've won, or they insult me, which really tells me I've beaten them, and this is their only defense.
Girl got cut off from her parents, drinking and not going to class, and had to get a job. She put on Facebook about how she's going to go hungry and needs money. People offered her food and to make her dinner. She said, "That's okay, I just need about $40 to get through the day. I don't like to grocery shop." $40 can feed you for a week if you grocery shop.
Right. Yeah.
Story 15. Sorry about the length, I was a school bus driver in the 70s, during height of court-ordered busing, so I ferried poor kids to the rich side of town, then rich kids the other way. Lots of entitled brats, but one stands out. Super entitled kid, constantly defying rules. Eventually, I caught him, with too many witnesses, attempting to set a bus seat on fire with his lighter. School officials were called, hearing with officials and Rich Dad, and he's banned from all buses for the rest of semester. Dad offers to pay for the damage and quietly accepts the punishment. Then comes a surprise. Next morning when I arrive at 6 a.m. to clean my bus, a regular task every morning, Rich Kid and Dad are standing there. Dad introduces me to my new personal bus cleaner for the rest of the year.
Oh.
He brings the kid every morning and forces him to wash and clean the floors on my bus before taking him on to his school. By the end of the year, the entitled kid is actually working hard and being friendly. We're getting along pretty well, and I help him out sometimes so he can get on to school. Kid turns out okay when all is over. Good move by his dad. What a great...
Okay, I just have only one question. What possessed him to think about setting a bus seat on fire with a lighter? And where did he even get it from? What? Seriously, what possessed him to think about doing that? And how did he get his hands on a lighter? I don't understand how he could get that. What? Am I the only one here that's kind of questioning about that? Because I feel like I should not be the only one here that feels that way at all.
Teach him responsibility. Great dad. Agreed. That is a parent taking action when a kid is younger. That is actually teaching him something. Instead of spoiling a kid like some of these other parents and then just cutting them off when they don't want to deal with the monster they've created.
Yep.
Story 16. When I was working in a public library, we had a few local celebrities come in from time to time. Most of them were nice, but one had a real stick up his butt. He would be about having to stand in line and about late fees and about everything else. We would just say, sorry, those are the rules, or thank you for being patient, even though he wasn't. One day, he and I were apparently both having a bad day, and when I told him there was a limit on how many DVDs or video games he could check out at a time, he slammed his hands on the desk and raged, "Do you know who I am? This is a grown
You know, I would have looked at him like, let's see. I remember I momentarily left, but I'm back. Welcome back, Coconut, Mr. Coconut. I was gonna say, whenever somebody tells me, "Do you know who I am?" I'd be like, "Should I?" I'd be like, either should I or I don't. It don't matter who you are. You still gotta be like the rest of them, or something of that nature, because ain't no way somebody's gonna get away with the "Do you know who I am?" bullshit with me. Let's see. I was attempting to fix my weed that had been broken for over 7 years. I've been saying, nice! Yes! Nice! Ah, that's great. Great to hear.
And mind, I was a little college student who barely looked old enough to drive. I was sick of his low-key bullying, so I just looked at him and said, "Yes, I do, Mr. X, and the rules still apply to you. Which of these would you like me to put back?" He was stunned. I don't think anyone had ever told him that
that'd be a good way of doing it too. Be like, "Yes, Mr. Da-da-da, I do know who you are, but contrary to your own personal belief, the rules apply to you just like to everybody else. Now, how are we going to go about this, I wonder? Anyway.
rules for everyone else did in fact apply to him as well. He was a little nicer after that. Not a lot nicer, but still. Trying to flex at a public library is some real low-level crap. You down at me while you're trying to borrow games at the place I work. Story 17.
Yeah, we're almost done with this, but I do want to point out, when I was going to high school, we were doing a thing for like 2 of the things that we were dealing with here. there were two authors that I remember. The first author was Sharon M. Dropper, and we were reading the book Tears of a Tiger, one of my favorite books, and I highly recommend it to anybody going through suicidal thoughts or tendencies. That is a book that I remember reading in high school, and and it and it and it was such a good read. I won't spoil the specifics of it, but it's basically about a young man in high school who is going through suicide, who goes through the several stages of depression because he felt like he felt like he caused the death of his friend, one of his basketball player, one of his friends who he played basketball with, and they were on the sports team. And uh, because of what happened, when his friend, and like maybe two other people were, they were in the car. I'll just say, the beginning of the incident happens. The beginning of the story is basically where they, uh, they, they're either it's like before or after a basketball game, and they're going out to, I'm guessing, to celebrate their victory over the opposing team. And then some pages of them talking later, and there's a picture of a news article on like a transcript of a newspaper article that basically talks about how a car accident that involved the four of them uh, transpired, and one of the kids were killed. And so we're basically spending the whole book from the mindset of this young man who happened. I think he was the driver of the car. And so he spends the whole book. He spends, and the rest of the book is basically him coping with the loss and developing depression and suicidal thoughts and tendencies. It is such a great book. I highly recommend it. And then there was another book that I remember reading. I can't remember the name of it, but I know it's in my camper in the area that I have all these books in. Um, I can't remember the name of it, but I remember seeing the author there, and I think I have his autograph on that book, just like I did with Sharon M. Dropper with Tears of a Tiger. But I loved Tears of a Tiger so much that I actually went to my school library, and tried to find the other two books, because I knew that they were because I found out that the book Tears of a Tiger was part of a trilogy, and I wanted to read the other books because I loved this first book so much. It's a great trilogy, and I recommend reading it. And I recommend reading Sharon M. Dropper books. The books by Sharon M. Dropper. The only ones that I know of were Battle of Jericho and the sequel, and Copper's Son. They're the only books that I know of. But I love her. I love her work so much. I highly recommend it, even to those that don't like reading. I highly recommend that. What's the book called again? It's called Tears. It's either Tears of a Tiger or Tears of the Tiger. But it's such a great read. I enjoyed it. It's such a great read. It's one of the most realistic books I've ever read in my entire life. Outside of, the diaries of Anne Frank and the book Go Ask Alice. Outside of those two books, this is one of those fictional stories, but it's so realistic. It's a great read. I highly recommend it.
I will admit that I was a bit spoiled growing up, though I didn't think that I was a brat. My mom had a maid that came in several times a week. When I went to college, several things were very different for me. I knew to clean up after myself, but cleaning a bathroom was completely new. The biggest shock was laundry. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing or how. I knew I was supposed to use detergent and softener, but I thought any soap would do and didn't know what softener was. I had no idea how or when to add them either. really hit when a campus security guard came in and I asked how much of the dish soap I was supposed to use, and the man started laughing. He did help me get the right soap after and explained how to operate a washer and dryer. If it makes you feel better, laundry is one of the most common first hurdles for 18-year-olds first out on their own, regardless of upbringing. In Army basic training, those of us who are a couple years older spend that first Sunday laundry day teaching probably around half the company how to use the machines. Man, I must be in the minority when it comes to laundry. I was doing my own laundry when I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14. It isn't that hard, folks. Story 18.
Let me guess. Doing laundry is pretty much one of those things where it looks hard, but it's a lot easier than it looks. That's just about everything when you think about it. Even driving is a lot easier than it looks. But there are so many things that you have to factor in when it comes to driving that it seems so hard. But it's still pretty easy if you know what the heck you're doing. But for me though, I can't drive 55, so I'm basically using a bike to get me from point A to point B.
When I joined the Army, guy who had the infantry tattooed on him didn't even last 2 weeks in basic training. He cried and yelled, "I shouldn't have to get yelled at to do something." Story 9.
He would definitely hate being in the movie Full Metal Jacket because there's that, and I say that because there's that because of the drill instructor. You know that the sergeant, the Army drill instructor or whatever. You know that guy. If you've seen the movie or the scenes with the guy, you'll know who I'm talking about. But it's so. But he's so serious, but it's really funny with some of his interactions with the characters.
My friend had this entitled younger brother who acts like the world revolves around him. While his dad is stern with him, his mom babies his behavior, and he can get away scot-free with almost anything. He gets angry very easily, and even at the slightest things. I was over at my friend's house, and while we were downstairs, we heard a loud crash from his brother's room. It turns out he was playing Fortnite on his TV and threw the controller into the glass table, which shattered. My friend called me later in the day over Discord and told me how after his dad came back, he grounded his brother for a month, and he wasn't allowed to play video games or go over to a friend's house. He had to pay for a new table with his allowance and had to do chores. Not what he deserved. Other effort didn't get the victory and resorts to destroying property. Dang. Story 2.
Yeah, that's a sore loser.
Traffic jam. Someone uses shoulder to skip ahead and save time because they're more important than everyone else. Gets pulled over very quickly afterwards. Seen a couple videos of it, but saw it with my own eyes a few weeks ago. It was a beautiful thing. R/convenient cop. Story 21. My former roommate's sister got slapped pretty hard. She knew absolutely nothing of the real world. Couldn't do laundry, cook food, clean, nothing. Her mom paid her share of the rent, and she didn't have to even work while she was going to college and staying under our roof. She had the perfect setup. She was so dense, she kept her social security card in her wallet, and it was stolen the first day she moved to the big city. Even though she was warned, but oh, she knew better. Later on, she decided she didn't like living with us and our rules, such as you can't let your friends live in our apartment. It's against the lease. If your friends are going to come over and make a big mess and eat all the food in the house that we pay for, we need compensation. We're fresh from college, low-income wage earners at the time. We can't afford it. And she needs to be respectful of quiet hours and clean up after herself.
Right.
So she decided to make her daddy move her out so she could move in with a diagnosed schizophrenic who refused to take his meds and a hoarder. Her mother and father said, if you move out, we won't support you. She did it anyway. Oh, how she beat and moaned. I had to get a job at Burgerville. The people there stole my paycheck from my wallet because I kept all of my paycheck in cash in it. We can't afford internet, it's so expensive. Food is so expensive. Well, she ended up quitting school and moving back in with her mom. Maybe this time around her mom could actually teach her and not just pay for everything. Or just keep paying, Mom. You made your bed, now lie in it. Please leave
That's funny. Alright, well, I did say that was going to be the end of it, so, yep. So, that is the end of the stream. 231, what time is it? Wow. Wait, it's only at 1:40, okay, yeah, so that that's going to be the end of it here for this stream. I had a lot of fun watching all these Reddit videos that I did in the 2 streams today. 2 more streams like these, I like them. I might, just to, kind of like how I was doing it with the Mario Kart streams, I might do these streams more often. But, for now, it is almost time for it's almost time for me to go to bed. So I'm going to end the stream here, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, the deal. Smash that like, add it to your faves, share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter. You could always hop in a party for a few minutes to recap the last 2 months, if you want, since you're going to stop streaming if it isn't too late. I'm actually feeling. I'm on this, Tyler. I don't think I don't think I should be having too bad of a day. So we can actually talk tomorrow night. If you want to, catch up tomorrow night, because I am starting to feel tired, and, so, yeah, I spent the whole day, literally, right here, I spent, like, most of the day in this room, so I'm feeling a little bit tired, so I'm gonna end it for now, and, we can just talk tomorrow night, before I do another stream, maybe we'll see. But either way, I'm gonna end the stream here. Hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, this is Forrest Walpole signing off.